It is now 6:30, and I will call our select board meeting to order. Do we have any additions and deletions for this evening?
So we got an email from Vermont Emergency Management that they'd be sending us a sub-grant agreement for FEMA funds.
Okay.
So I'm, if we get it in the next week, it would be good if the select board could authorize you to sign it, so we don't have to wait till the 17th. Our goal is to get money in before June 30th, so if we get the grant in, if the select board at some point tonight can just vote to authorize you
Okay.
permission to sign the sub-grant agreement.
Okay, permission.
Put that on the agenda somewhere.
So any place we want to put that on? How about at? Let's see if there's anything that's relates to. Would we like to do that maybe in between the shade tree and the pharmacy? What do people think? Is that a good place to put it? Sure. Mark, are you good with that?
Yep, that's fine.
So we're gonna move that to in between shade tree and pharmacy. Permission to sign sub-grant. Sound good?
Oh, good.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. Select board minutes and pay orders. So we'll start with select board minutes. I think we have them for 2 meetings.
Yes.
And the first minutes, earlier minutes I should say, would be the minutes from May, not May 15th, where are they? Do you have these minutes?
May 6th?
From May 6th.
Move the
Those
approval.
would be the only ones we
Okay,
have.
do we have a
Yeah,
second?
they are the only ones.
They're the only ones.
Okay.
Second.
So the ones from May 6th, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Please look it over for discussion. Does anyone notice anything? Or have noticed anything? Okay. Not hearing any remarks. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the May 6th meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Sounds like it's unanimous. Okay.
With 2 pay orders, that's probably what you were thinking.
What's that?
So you have 2 pay orders, that's probably what you're thinking, not minutes.
That's what I was thinking of, yeah. So now we have pay orders, and we have pay orders from, it looks like May 21st?
Yep.
And then we have the pay orders from
6/4.
6/4. So why don't we start with the pay orders from May 21st? Or do we want to do them both?
Gotta do one at a time.
We'll do them one at a time. So the pay orders from May 21st.
I'll make a motion for $62,080.76.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Moving on to the pay orders as of June 4th, 2024.
I'll make a motion, pay order for $18,454.21.
Okay.
I'll second.
Maybe we give that to Rob? Okay, great. Discussion? Questions?
What's 80 culverts? 80 feet?
80 culverts?
80 culverts, yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about
On
that.
the pay order.
Oh, it's 80 feet.
That's what I was asking.
80 feet of,
Okay, it said 80 culverts and I'm going,
yeah, you had me confused for a minute.
for $6,000, that's like 80 culverts. I mean, we better be buying more.
Yeah, no. That's four culverts.
Yeah,
Okay,
They're 1,500 apiece.
yeah,
so 80 for.
that's what I thought it was.
80 feet of culvert, they're 20-foot links,
20 foot.
4 pieces.
I just saw that and I'm like, I want to make sure it was 80 feet. No.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Okay. Moving on. Great. So moving on. Road Commissioners report. There you go.
Alrighty. Multiple things. Last week, the town's been working on paving cleanup projects so they can pave. They're gonna start with the dump road tomorrow. They're moving to Seward Hill and Sugar Hill to Wednesday. So Steve's been running around grading those up. At some point, jumping tracks with train of thought here, we need to take that, one of the dump trucks somewheres and get a pintle plate put on it.
What on it?
Pintle plate to tow the trailer.
Oh,
Because he drove the excavator from the town garage to Seward's farm today.
Oh,
Is he still on his way?
You know, but it took him 8 hours,
Oh, I'm sure.
almost 8 hours. You know, we can't,
Okay.
and it's not good for the machine.
no.
He'd called me, I was already gone, I was at a cell service. I was gonna plan on moving him tomorrow, because that was what, and we actually had scheduled moving him to Homerstone to cut brush. So, we need to take that, whether it goes to Earl's or over here at Jonesy's, to have him put the pintle plate on and then take it to Earl's to have him put the air to it. I know they can do it.
The air
Done it
lights.
before. Your son has.
Got some lights to it too, right?
No, there's no lights to it. Well, a light plug-in.
Well, that's right,
Trailer, yes.
Okay.
But that's probably something Earl's is gonna do. I don't think
I
they'll.
thought we talked about doing that last, like,
Yeah, and it's never been done.
Oh.
I never heard them say yay or nay on it, so.
And so it's moving
We're
towards-
talking probably somewhere in the 2,000 to 5,000 range to do it all.
Okay,
It's not a cheap thing, but
right,
if they blow up a planetary on that excavator, it's gonna be cheap.
no.
yeah,
We put the pintle hitch on
okay.
and saving time.
And so once you get an idea of how much that's gonna.
I will get prices on that before you do anything. I just want to know I can go ahead with it.
And which truck will that be attached to?
I would say the 16. Some reason we don't keep the 14, that's the next one to be traded.
Okay,
That'd be kind of foolish money to,
yeah, right.
and when you're looking at the next truck
Yeah.
on it,
it'll come with one.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of almost foolish not to.
It is, and
We didn't do it on the 1 ton?
No, can't.
One
pull
ton
it.
can't
Doesn't
pull
have
it.
air brakes.
It's newer.
And it's way too small.
Wow.
Do we have a place to get the money out of, Sandy, or, I'm just thinking, why wait? Why not just
Well,
go up and get it done?
we have the, highway fund.
What is the special projects?
Have we spent anything on?
No,
that?
that's the,
Hired equipment has 12,000 in it.
Well, yeah, I know, it's,
And
Well, what
and you got two,
hired equipment.
Hired equipment?
Hasn't been used this year.
and you got 2 weeks to use it,
Oh,
or 3 weeks,
Yeah, and the only thing we use that for is roadside mowing.
right? I mean,
I hadn't even thought about that this year,
okay,
so.
so,
I think we should not go get an estimate for it, I think we should just send it out and get it done.
I don't know.
Because it's gonna get kicked back to us and sent back out, kicked back.
well, I mean, with the purchasing
I-
policy, we've gotta get at least a couple estimates.
yes.
Yeah, let
I
me
thought
get
so.
estimates.
We have to follow the
It
purchasing.
won't take long. They'll copy up one over a couple hours over to Jonesy's.
Yeah.
And then Earl's, they probably know what it is right off the top of their head.
Right.
Jimmy will.
Yeah, but you don't have those numbers tonight.
No, I don't have
Okay.
that stuff. I didn't want to go ahead with anything.
I just-
You'd be able to get them easily by the
By
next meeting.
17th and
What's
we'll
that?
set this on the
You'd
17th.
be able to get them by the next meeting.
Oh, easily.
I just hate
And the
to,
time frame to get them into any of these places doesn't sound like
So
it'd be too
then-
bad either.
No, you won't
As
we've
get,
long
been
as we
talking
get-
about doing this for like a year.
So,
But we still have to follow the purchasing policy.
more than
so
that, I think you,
If we do this at the next meeting, we should be good, right? Correct?
Yeah, no, that's fine, it's just, like I said,
it's
It's-
not
But
like,
we'll
enough.
definitely, we'll need that.
I've been,
for the
mo-
next
I've
meeting.
been moving them and just the last 2 or 3 times this spring and I just wasn't around today.
We can also tell them not to, I mean, drive it 8 hours to move it between now and
Right.
the next meeting.
Yeah.
There's enough other work that can get done.
Right.
Other
Yes.
things.
I mean.
Yeah, but he needs this machine there because they're paving on Wednesday, he needs it
Okay,
there.
Yeah, but he
I
took him
understand
eight,
his point, I'm not arguing it with him.
took him 8 to get over there, so the day was shot by the time he got there. So
right.
Yep,
he could've waited for you for the morning and
yeah.
trucked it over. But
But anyways, that was that, and there was something else, we had 2 or 3 other things, wasn't there? Oh, the paving bids.
Yeah, and,
Right, there's paving bids.
yep, we need,
you can pull the chair over to the other side if you want. Okay.
Would you like me to open
yeah, we
those
can do
now?
those now.
Yeah, I can do the paving bids.
Yep.
Okay,
You, spec it per ton?
The paving, it'll be done by ton, so many tons per job, per street, and then
Yeah.
it should be broke down, each street.
okay, are we ready? So I have 3 paving bids in front of me. I'm gonna be opening the one from Wilk Paving first. Sorry, not too graceful here. All right. Okay. So this one is a unit price of 142, an estimated 615 tons with a estimated total of 87,330. Shoulder gravel NA, a total of
And
87,330.
I told them to delete that.
Okay.
I tell them all, every time, it shouldn't be in the bid, and it is.
And the certificate of liability insurance is included.
So, I guess I'll have to look at them. So you must have broke those down by the street.
Let's find out if they'll.
Let's see.
They usually break them down per ton per street.
They don't have anything per street on this, but maybe I'm missing something that
Do you
you're
want to
gonna
spell it so
see.
we can look
Here's
at
the
it?
one from Wilk. I'm opening the second one. This is from Fuller Sand and Gravel. All that I saw in there was the cover sheet and the certificate of liability. I didn't see any breakdown written down on it.
Doesn't even have.
Okay.
It doesn't even have the streets on it.
Okay, this one has, this one has some things written down below that I'll read after the bid. Paving, unit price 128, estimated units 674 tons, estimated total price of $86,272. Because of the volatility of the liquid asphalt market, Fuller Sand and Gravel basis price, any fluctuation. It does not seem to have streets included on it.
Sorry, Kathy, which company was that?
This is Fuller Sand and
They
Gravel.
know the streets, so they know the streets.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but
They
there's,
went out with Phil.
but the problem is
Break it down.
I did 2 streets and added Church Street for an extra. And they're not saying whether they're doing Church Street.
There's, yeah.
Because it's not likely it came out to an even amount, the 2 streets
Yes.
came out to an even amount of
Well,
money
can you
what we
pass
have to
this
spend.
down? Down to Sandy, thank you. And now the last one I'm opening is from Pike Industries.
84,222.
Okay. This one, again, does not have streets listed. It's for $119.95, 715 tons, 85,764.25. And you can pass this one down.
So. It doesn't give us an answer.
No.
Unless you're going by tonnage, it's cheaper.
I was gonna say, Pikes is
Cheap, bike is far cheaper.
Yes.
50, they're 50 ton over. Everybody
Well,
else.
But the problem is we
Right.
don't know what they're including.
They're 100 ton over Wilk.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, right. Right,
That makes a lot of difference.
yeah.
And they're cheaper per ton
Right.
by
Okay.
22.
When did you add in Church Street?
What's that?
Did you add in Church Street? The
Yeah,
day-
'cause
The
for
day
an
you
over-
drove around?
For an overrun, yeah. The end of Church Street,
Okay.
the tail end of it. For an
That wasn't
overrun.
that wasn't on the bid sheets that
Oh.
were mailed out. It was just the other two, so that's
It
why.
was-
They all bid on the same.
On the same thing, and I said, if there's any money overrun, you need to specify what is left and what goes on Church Street.
Okay.
So, none of them did that. This is just, by what we did, they should have to pave the section of Church Street we looked at too. And it doesn't say that. Not one of
We
them.
could say that.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
So what's the discretion of the board, how we'd like to proceed?
I think we can, award it to Pike, but, under the authority of the road commissioner, what they plan to do.
Just a little clarification is all I need.
Yeah,
They're definitely the lower of the bids. By
So
far.
with that said, do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay. Did you hear what
yeah,
Rob's motion is?
yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. So all those in favor of the motion?
All right,
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we'd like you to find out
Yeah,
what
I will
exactly
find
they're
it,
including.
That way there, you got another little fish to hand, little carrot to hand out.
Yep.
And they'll have to sign a contract and all that. It'll all
Yes.
be in a contract before
Okay.
they
Yeah.
do that too.
Right,
Okay.
right, right.
Okay. Great.
The next thing while we're on the paving projects
Yes.
is on leftover sand and leftover salt. It comes to roughly 39,600 and something and change. I'd like to put that into paving before I lose that.
There's room in here, Shannon. Can you folks scoot over a
Last year,
little
we didn't
bit?
get to keep it
paving for this year?
this year.
This, fiscal year or after January 1st?
After July 1st, right?
After July.
Yeah, that would go, this would go, we'd attach it to this paving bill that just
Okay.
came in.
Yeah.
So, Phil, there's
I guess we can do
I
that.
don't,
bills still not paid.
That's on gravel though, right?
Is that what that is?
Yeah, those are gravel bills.
I don't think we can do that. Roll it into next year's budget.
No, we're rolling it into,
Your leftover money is off the 23, 24 budget.
well, can we
You want to
spend?
put it in the
Award the bid
24,
this
25
year.
budget. After July 1st.
Right.
Okay.
You
well,
can't
I
do
guess-
that.
So can we extend it onto the 23 budget? I don't wanna lose the money.
Well, we could
Like I had last year.
increase the paving bid by whatever that's left over and do the same thing.
Well, that was the issue we had last year. Remember, I lost that. I don't wanna lose it.
And unless you put it into paving now, you're gonna lose it again. 'cause
Right.
you're
We're
not
not
gonna-
gonna lose it.
You can't carry it over into,
We can carry it over.
No,
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 you cannot.
No, we cannot.
they've done away
we
with
gotta make a
that.
budget for next year.
so,
Yeah, but the
We
money,
probably can't do that
once-
carryover.
No, not carry over. What I'm saying is, that money, we can increase the paving budget because because it's a surplus, it's gonna offset, offset our revenue.
right, but it's gonna be under this year's budget,
Yeah.
not next year's budget.
next year.
Right.
We're
And
gonna
this year's
increase-
budget-
We're gonna how much is it?
39,000.
yeah, 39.5, 39.6
Just-
something actually.
We're gonna leave that off and add it to next year's budget, 39,000.
Can't do
But
that.
you can't add it to next year's budget.
Right.
No, we're adding it.
We can't.
We
can't.
can't.
No, I understand that. I'm saying that budget is sand and salt, or what was it?
Yeah, sand and salt.
That budget's gonna go back to zero.
Yes,
Right. And the paving is gonna go back to zero.
right.
But instead of putting 85,000, we're gonna put 100,000, or whatever it comes to.
What that total would be.
That's,
But he's asking what to do with the money this year instead of losing it.
it's not lost. It's not lost.
Well, it goes back,
It goes
What
into the
what
general
that does is helps our budget Look, that's $39,000 we don't have to code for.
As of July 1st, that money is gone.
Yeah, it's gone. It's back to
zero, back to
But
zero.
You don't follow me what I'm saying. That
So-
we're in charge of next year's budget.
Right.
And they're all zeros. So paving, last year was 85, this year is 129.
But if we didn't budget for that, I don't think we can just increase it even though we have a
No, we're gonna get
surplus
it
money.
passed,
Am
but,
I correct in this?
you mean we have to have, that won't get passed until next March?
Yeah.
Right, but then it doesn't start till the
It
following.
doesn't
Yeah.
start till the following.
So what they're saying is, Rob, if I use this for paving, it has to be done on last year's, Wilt didn't get paving done last year, so they're paving this year. So if we can, we'll add it to their budget.
Right, as long as they're done by the 1st of July.
Well, yeah,
Well, you can
Right.
cut a check and hang.
Well, either way,
do it.
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
We can just write a check before
You
June
can just
30th.
write a check, okay.
You can write
You
a
can
check.
handle it that way.
Yeah, on the next pay order, put a check for Wilt for this
Yes.
amount and
Or-
hang on to it.
So we
till
can't do it
get the
for
bills.
like Pike.
Well, whoever.
Yes,
Yeah, well, Pike won this year's bid. They're the one that's gonna be the extension on that.
We'll get it.
but it's
Exactly.
it's last
We
year's
won't go
money.
over.
Yeah, but if we write a check for it this year and say it's spent,
Oh, I get you.
well, I'm just going by, I don't know that. I'm just going by what the boss says. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna pay Pike for what they finish, right?
Yeah?
And
Yes.
are you going with Wilk? Is that what you're saying, or?
We're going with
Well,
that.
Wilk has to finish last year's bid.
Okay.
They still
So
have
vice
paving.
versa, whoever.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
we either pay Wilk if we can to finish the extra almost 40,000 this year,
Yes.
or do we roll it up, can we write a check to Pike and put it on a surplus account there and let them do it when they do the rest of it?
Well, we can hold the check until they do it.
Okay,
There we go. Okay.
so we can do it, so we can add that money, 'cause I just don't wanna lose it like last year.
Well, if
Right.
they say you can.
Doesn't need to go to the general fund,
So
that's
does
for
this
sure.
need to go to motion?
It'll go on the next pay order.
I'll go next pay order, okay. Great.
So, we can just write a check, add it to Pikes. They're the ones doing the work.
For
Okay.
the 24, 25 bucks.
Yeah, we'll just write
Exactly.
a pre-write a check.
Okay. Anything else, Phil?
Yes, the truck.
Oh, yeah. I looked around for scrap prices and tried, somebody take that international down there. $12.50 is the best I found for scrap to get rid of it. And if that's something if you're gonna let it go for $12.50, I'd be interested in it to rob parts off it myself. But that's up to you, guys. I've been trying to find a place that would take it and pay more than that.
I know it's working pretty nice down there as a flood deterrent.
Well, I think we should put it on some of these side roads where people are going too fast and just leave it with strobe lights on with a battery in it. Slow people down.
Okay.
So you wanna know what we wanted, what to do
What
with
you
it?
guys wanna do with it? Or just let it sit there? It's still on
We don't
insurance,
want it. Let's get
right?
rid of it.
Okay.
And if somebody's offering to give us $1,250 for it, right?
Put into paving.
Is that what you're,
Yeah, put it in payment in, thank you.
that's what you're, $1,250?
Yep, I've checked around for scrap.
What do we
Find
think?
somebody to buy it, then I think we'll get rid of it.
We put some,
Yes.
Can't really say that, but yeah.
truck
Right.
out to bid. And,
Didn't even get a bite on it.
huh?
Didn't get a bite on it.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. You did put it out to bid?
Yeah,
You have, oh, you didn't
yeah,
get
Sandy put that out to bid
I can remember
3
you
months ago,
sold
I
one.
think, wasn't it?
No, nobody was interested in it.
Okay.
You sold one to Danny Allard for $10,000.
Yeah.
The engine's blown on it.
Gotcha. Okay.
We should just take a check for it and have it out there tonight.
Yeah. You gotta pull the insurance off it too, that's the other thing, you're paying on insurance on it.
Okay.
So it'll save money just to get rid of it as soon as fastest way that we can find.
Okay.
I'll move it this week,
Okay.
that's what it is.
And
Yeah, it seems like there's one more thing we talked about.
Ledge removal.
Okay.
so the
Oh,
flat,
yeah, ledge removal. Down in front of
Yeah,
Mr.
ledge.
Jones's house, there's a chunk of ledge that sticks out, narrows the road up quite drastically. It's within, I would say, 6 inches of the pavement now. And I know they've bounced off it a few times with their plow. Yeah, I was being nice.
This is on the west side or the east side?
East side of Homer Stone, just before
Yeah.
Mr. Jones's house.
Yeah.
Right on the little incline. Steve's thought is to get somebody in there to pecker it off so it's gone with a hammer and be done with it. Something I can do, but if you want to put it out to bids, I figured it was less than $1,000 to do it.
Yeah, it's all shale,
Yeah.
like, just breaks right up.
That way. Because they're probably literally gonna jog around it with a paper,
You go to,
I'm guessing.
So if it's less than 1,000, what's the purchasing policy for that?
Just like a couple estimates.
A couple estimates?
Yeah. Or you can, or
You-
Phil can do it and he could just pay us $250 for the trade window truck.
Yeah, we'll swap it out. Won't be on
On
the
here.
paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanna do that?
So what does everybody think of
I
that?
think that's a good idea. Send it out to Baker's
Okay.
in partial payment, in lieu of partial
In
payment.
lieu of partial payment
Yeah,
Or
of
whatever.
the international.
Whatever comes up.
Whichever way.
Good.
Mike.
no.
Okay.
Peel it off or you got a hammer?
I got a hammer.
Alright. Okay,
All right.
so that's ledge. Now, do we need to talk about grants and aid?
No, it's just a note for you.
Okay.
But I do want to talk about the flashing radar signs.
Yes.
So they're flashing messages, they're not supposed to do that, so
Right.
I'm just gonna let you know.
I will, well, not all of them. South Main's fine.
Charlie said this morning it was flashing. I mentioned
I
that you
just came
said.
by tonight, it wasn't flashing.
Okay.
Well, all three of them are broke.
What do you mean, bro?
Every time I go by, they say too fast.
Well, the one on North Main is giving that message.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only one I noticed is in Elfin Lake. Going over by Elfin Lake's not flashing that.
Yeah. But
That just says
that one
slow
is-
down, I think.
that one
up
doesn't
there,
matter, it's our.
That one's set up weird. That one changes colors, flashes the sign. I don't know what the speed is to make it tell you to
Doesn't
slow
show the
down.
speed. At least it didn't the last few times I've been
It
by.
doesn't
That one
matter.
doesn't matter.
I came by it the other night.
You're
Essentially
saying
made it
north and
flash.
south, isn't it?
It changed colors. I think it was red flashing at me.
The west, Route 140 West is a town road. We can put
Right.
anything on that
Yeah.
one. But the other three
Um,
cannot have messages on them.
So who's gonna take care of that?
Can the,
Road crew knows how to.
can they unplug them? I programmed them and every time they pull the batteries on, when the battery goes dead, they charge back up. It goes back
It
to the
goes back
factory
to the
reset.
message?
All I got it to do is stay on amber only. I couldn't,
Okay,
I unplugged it, plug it back in, it goes right back to factory reset.
Okay.
Reset. So on the back of those, if they pull the face off,
Yeah.
on the back of the LEDs, there's a plug.
Yeah.
And all you gotta do is pull that plug off and put the face back on.
But do they have to do that every day?
No, leave it off. It's
Just pull
literally,
the LED plug off.
pull the LED plug off, it's literally on the slow down sign, and just let it hang in there.
Okay.
They found,
so can they take care of that pretty quickly?
Yeah, it won't be tomorrow.
Okay,
They're in Sugar Hill cleaning up ditches and stuff, getting ready for paving.
Well, I think it's in our benefit though to get that done as soon as possible.
They can do it this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
and then they could, just take a screwdriver, the covers just pop off, and then there's just a plug. I think Steve, I don't know, Steve or Charlie found it, found the plug.
And if they have a question, they can
Right.
Sure,
ask you.
They can,
Okay,
sure.
okay?
Yeah, and then, I don't know, have you been over Steve said he did the Elfin Lake brush
Yes.
Okay.
and stuff, so that
That's
was
done.
done.
So the Elfin Lake brush is done?
Yeah. And the grading, I think he said he graded over there, didn't he?
Yep.
Brush and grade, okay?
Is the dock out yet?
Nope,
No.
they have to do
No.
that too.
Yes.
That due this week?
Yep. They need to get it done because the lake opens the 15th.
Right.
Charlie said the water's so high in the lake that the chains now don't reach the dock. So they're
Oh,
gonna need extensions on that.
okay. All right. All right.
Nothing's easy.
Oh,
So Phil, anything else? this
I don't
evening?
think so, is there, Sandy?
I don't think so. We'll talk about this stuff after.
So are we good to move on?
Yes.
Okay. So moving on, thank you, Phil. We're moving on to honorable mentions. So we'd like to thank Tom and Michelle Fort for purchasing materials to secure The new Trex bench at Town Hall, installing the bench. Bruce Duchesne for filling in at the transfer station for Jerry Reynolds. Wallingford citizens for volunteering to clean up and make repairs to the ball fields. Mariah Kuchel-Kelly for her work on the pollinator garden at Stone Meadow. John McClellan for putting up the American flags in the village in East Wallingford. The road crew for installing the Boy with the Boot fountain. Phil Lawson for turning on the water at the Boy of the Boot fountain. Bruce and Maureen Duchesne for taking the boards off the Elfin Lake concession stand windows and doors. And Bill Lotion for turning on the water at the Elfin Lake concession stand. Thank you very much. We're now at public comments. Do we have anybody here this evening for your public comment? Or is everyone on the agenda? Yes. I can recognize Mark Barone.
I got a question about the transfer station. Everybody in town is supposed to have a sticker in their vehicle that says we're a Wallingford taxpayer to be able to use the transfer station, but there seems to be a woman from Timoth that goes around collecting everybody's garbage. And then when she gets to the transfer station, she backs right up to the dumpster, and nobody can get to the dumpster while the time she's there. So everybody's just standing around, just waiting for her to move. And it doesn't seem right that a Timoth resident is stopping us taxpayers from using the transfer station.
I don't know anything about this, but we can
It
definitely,
is Wallingford trash.
it's Wallingford.
She picks up
trash.
Wallingford trash.
Right.
Oh,
That's all I can tell you. I know it's all Wallingford trash.
Oh.
I just can't tell you how many times I've gone in there on a Saturday and that pickup's literally backed up, just about touching the metal, and you can't get
And
around
no
it.
one
You're
else can
waiting.
get it.
What color is it? You get the license number?
I couldn't tell you.
Huh?
I couldn't tell you.
It's been going on for years.
Yeah.
And to his point, for other people to try and get a bag into the hopper, you have to wait till she has unloaded her whole pickup truck.
And it's mounted.
She could be a half an hour. She
You
could
don't
be a
think
half
the
an hour.
attendants are aware of that?
It's
And
probably,
have confronted her before? You think they're just letting her do that?
I
I
couldn't,
don't-
that's not my place.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Just make a mention to the,
we'll make,
just make a mention and just have her offset. Just,
Yeah.
just
Little
have a truck or
common
something, yeah.
so we'll mention it to the transfer station. We'll offer the idea that maybe she pulls off so that other people can also get up there. Because she has a lot to unload, then other people are waiting too.
Just a little common courtesy. so.
Okay.
There is a woman that has a commercial pickup and goes around, picks up Wallingford trash and backs
And
right
that's
up
the
there
person, right?
all the time. And that may be the person you're
It
seeing.
is. It
But
is.
she's not from Timoth. It's Wallingford trash.
Well, it may be Wallingford trash, but she lives in Timoth.
Well, she has a job to do. She has a job, and the people in Wallingford pay her to take their.
That's fine. My concern is that she's backed up, creating an
No, I
inconvenience
think
for
that,
everybody.
No, she can.
I think the issue is that she's blocking other residents
Right.
and that there needs to be some accommodation.
Right.
Okay. Something will be met.
All the other residents she doesn't pick up would be blocking it.
They don't back up like she does.
Right.
I'm not
And
gonna
they
get
wouldn't
into it
have a
again
similar
like
amount
that
of
here.
trash.
It's
Right.
not the
They
same.
don't
I've
need
heard no
to.
complaint
They don't
about
need
those
to.
two.
No, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
Wall-
definitely
that's-
say something.
That's Wallingford trash.
Right, and that's
It's
established,
okay
but
for
I
her to
think,
bring it.
I think we can move.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on. Thank you. Thank you for that. Anyone else with a public comment? Hearing none, we're gonna move on with our agenda. Investment report annual review. Okay, so we haven't closed, what's that?
Julie's.
Julie?
So these are just the fund balances as of the end of April.
Okay.
And I got the bank to increase the rates for the bridge reserve and the highway up to 2.85.
Oh,
So we don't have those balances now because we had to pay Mill River and the fire district. But
okay.
it's just my semi-annual report to you.
Do we have any questions for Julie? Hearing none, thank you, Julie. I think we're gonna move on. Okay. Recreation Committee. Some updates. So
Yeah.
Shannon, you're up.
Okay, so I think I don't know if Mark's here. He was gonna try to make it, but I might be the only one here.
He's here.
Oh, Mark, come on in.
You
was, he retired.
Oh, okay, well, maybe he'll join us, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so, the rec committee has met last month, and we have a significant amount of remaining budget, a portion of which was donated to the rec committee.
How
And,
much is remaining, Shannon?
$4,921.
4,900?
Yeah. That's the latest number I have from Julie.
Remaining in rec, okay.
And so we came up with some ideas, and I think Sandy had printed them. Hey, here. Did you? So yeah, I think you have the list. A lot of them were sort of time sensitive, and I'm not sure we can do them now, given the time frame, because we were supposed to meet 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So some things I'm not sure we have time to do, and then I know there's some concern about some of the other budget items, but maybe we can start with the easy things. Soccer goals, we were hoping to use the majority of the donated funds on new soccer goals. There's been significant interest in soccer, and we put somebody dropped off some old frames for soccer that are like small, and we put new nets on them and have had them over there, and every time I've been down there've been kids playing soccer.
When I was working on the field, there's kids showing up after school, like full out soccer.
Constantly, people say like kids are like carrying the cleats down there, and so what we were thinking is that there's a big range in like field size for different soccer ages, so we were thinking about having like a smaller field right next to the basketball court for like the smaller kids, for parents who have like little kids, they could stay right there, and then putting a almost full-size field further down and buying full-size goals.
We can make a field big enough for 14 and underage kids and have a full-size field over there. It's almost enough for a full-size football field. So it's something, I measured it out, put in the river and peaks and stuff,
So it wouldn't take away from anything, we'd still have the same baseball fields, but we're trying to squeeze in some soccer fields. And I think there's been really great reception so far, so we wanted to spend about $1,200 on that. But depending on how the other numbers work out, hoping to have some flexibility.
I think we'll just need a couple estimates on that, I think.
Yeah, so I just looked on Amazon. I think that's what we've done in the past, is just like look at a couple we want to get a steel ones that is sort of strong.
Okay.
And that's on the very, very low end of the price point. Like you could spend $5,000-6,000 on full-size soccer goals.
Okay.
So I'm hoping the quality is decent. I've been reading reviews. Painting at the lake, there's the bottom part of the lake building has been rotting for years, and so we wanted to have that painted. We have somebody who offered to do it. It's actually the person that got the contract for this building. They offered to do it as a volunteer just for free. So we were just gonna buy the supplies, so we don't.
How much, do you know how much the supplies would be for the paint?
I don't. I was just gonna we usually get it at La Valley, probably a couple $100.
Okay.
Yeah, not even.
He just said to get the highest end outdoor
Yes, that
paint
makes
they
sense.
have. And then, so we can help him with that if he needs, he's gonna pressure wash it and paint it, and we're gonna try to avoid damaging the beautiful mural. And then, gates for the middle school, you folks had mentioned, or for the playground area. Somebody had mentioned that at one of these meetings. I think it's a great idea.
One that's not here.
Right. Justin had mentioned that, and I think it makes a lot of sense, like.
Just have two gates
small
where
kids.
to go into the parking lot, there's actual gates so that.
So
people
small
have to
kids
go
aren't running
in
into the
and
parking
out,
lot.
so they can't
Right.
just run in.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So
That'd be a
that's
good safety feature.
300. We wanted to have the lake building inspected, and that's one thing I think might be too late, but we'd really like to come up with like a capital improvement plan for all of the facilities so that we can budget every year to maintain the facilities instead of waiting until it's like a crisis and things are falling apart.
Do you have any idea for an inspection, how much that would cost?
Well, I don't know, we estimated $1,000 just to have like a builder look at it, and we also wanted to get some estimates for like figuring out like putting in a boys' bathroom and just kind of understand what our options are.
Has any contact been made for people who would be up for doing that work?
No, I haven't reached out to anybody because I didn't know if it was like, if you were all were gonna be supportive, so I didn't want to put.
What do we think of that, of having somebody inspected so we can make a capital plan on what needs to be improved and how it needs to be?
Yeah, because like the windows are boarded up, and I know the wastewater system has had some issues in recent years, and there's some layout issues that would be nice to understand what's involved in changing that. Like, is it $5,000 or is it $50,000? So that we have a sense for.
And then only other question I have is people who made donations, the money that's donated, was it earmarked for anything in particular? Or
No, it was a
just
gentleman that
donations
passed
are
away. The majority of it was a gentleman that passed away that was very involved in sports. He was a
made? Okay.
coach, very
Okay.
involved in like local and
So
military
it's a
sports.
general donation?
General donation in lieu of flowers, please donate to the Wallingford Recreation.
Gotcha.
So we want to use it for something good.
Yes.
So yeah, inspect the building. Camp, I asked Laurie about if the camp needed anything, and she said that the budget, because they're trying to have camp for 5 weeks, the budget is very tight on trying to have the staff, and they're also really concerned about having a lifeguard, since there's no lifeguard at the beach. So she thought that if she could be paid for the hours that she's worked this year out of this year's budget, rec budget, that would free up some money towards next year's budget, you know what I mean? Because she's worked like a certain number of hours, so that was another idea. T-shirts, she said she didn't want to do, although I added that in there before I talked to her, but we had talked about getting swim shirts for the kids. They don't want like a fluorescent color. They use that at some other camps, but she wasn't sure how that would work out.
Right.
And then 2 additional items since the rec met that have been added just based on like conversations is a boat hauler. Because the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was Come Alive Outside has offered to let us house their kayaks and their stand-up paddleboard and also give the town like up to $2,000 to use towards use of the boats because their whole agenda is trying to get like more people outdoors. So trying to figure out how to remove barriers to making that happen is providing boats, and these boats have like a larger capacity for like, you know, people who weigh more than 200 pounds, which is the normal weight limit for a kayak. So, you know, they can be used for
And what would
heavier bodies.
Did you say $2,000 towards what?
Yeah, so
that would
basically,
be-
if you wanted to go use the kayaks, that you could go there, you sign a waiver form, and Come Alive Outside will pay the town for the use of the boat.
So that money would be used to pay the rental fee?
It's
What
coming to
any
the town.
rental fee would be?
Also to get them in. So yeah, I talked to Arwen.
And that's up to $2,000?
Yeah, so the only burden on the town, because they were fine with just having Come Alive Outside added to our existing waiver that we already have signed, so that's not necessarily an additional effort. The only additional work would be whoever works there would have to keep track of.
We'd have to keep track so we know when we reach that
Yeah.
mark.
And they wanted to pay for the first half hour so that like, you know, they could
And
get
that
as
would-
many people out in boats.
This would be for the Come Alive Outside boats and paddleboard, not for
All
the
of
ones.
them, he said all of them. They just
them.
want anybody to use, and they don't have a good option for their boats, like they bought boats for people to use, but then they were having to like deliver them to different places, and they
Right.
just thought it'd be easier if we just house them here and put some money towards like people using
Wow.
them
So
here.
we'd start the summer with a $2,000 credit for anybody.
Yeah, they wanted to check in like halfway through to see
So it's the first half hour, so somebody wanted.
first half hour, somebody wants to do an hour, they would pay for the other part. Yeah,
So that
Sounds great.
because more people got to use it, so you
Yes.
can't just go use it for 3 hours.
Take it
and
all
take
in, yeah.
out.
And then
Yeah, we
you
want more people
spread the
to
wealth.
come use, yeah.
Waste a lot of money on one party
Yep.
when you can spread it out to a lot of different
Yeah.
people.
and the other thing she offered to do, which I think is a great idea, is offer like maybe Friday nights from 5 to 7, like a drop-in clinic. Because some people might be intimidated by getting in and out of, especially if you're like elderly or limited mobility or something, like they might be intimidated by going in a kayak and
Yes.
trying to like teach them how to kayak. And so, yeah, we're
Well,
lucky to have.
And would that be like publicized? Like,
Yeah, I mean, Come
know
Alive
that-
Outside would advertise for it, yeah.
And their publicity is.
They're amazing. So,
Yes.
yeah, we're lucky to have Arwen here in town.
Wow, so what do we need for this? Do we need a motion on this? Or
I would
would this
think
be
so.
something we
By
can do by
consensus?
consensus? So we can do this on consensus. What do people think about
I'm
the
just wondering,
proposal on Come Alive Outside?
I gotta get explained to me that this is a private company that's gonna bring their boats here,
It's a nonprofit.
nonprofit, okay, that's what I need.
They do a lot of free events all through Rutland
Yeah.
and beyond.
They try to do
mission-
hikes and stuff like that, like.
Hikes and
we kinda wanna
camps
work
and
with
A
their
lot of
tourism
stuff at
more.
Giorgetti and Rutland.
The winter, whatever,
Winter
Winter
Festival.
Fest, they had all week, they had free events for people.
They've
They do a
revived
ton
that
with
whole
Rutland,
program.
mostly
And
Rutland,
yes,
so,
They do a ton with
Ton
Rutland.
with
They
Rutland.
have constant challenges, 30-day challenges,
Yeah.
100
Get out and
days
walk.
walking
Yeah.
challenges. They're really,
Their
their
passport
mission
programs
is
for
to
kids.
promote
What's the name of
health.
it? Huh?
Come Alive Outside.
Okay, great.
and their
all about
executive
the
director
youth.
lives here on Route 7 in
Yes,
town.
the
On
executive,
consensus.
okay. So what do we all think? I'm a yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
so related to that, I was thinking a boat hauler might be helpful, because I don't think we have one of those to like, because I wonder if that's a struggle for the kids when because there's gonna be no lifeguard, they're gonna be there potentially by themselves.
I think
If
like
it's
a
hard for
two-wheel
them to
thing
get-
you
Yeah.
Pick up and just wheel it.
So how much is a boat puller?
A dolly, like $150.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes
and then the other thing is.
sense. You'd rather somebody pay that money than have a boat injured because somebody's trying to carry it themselves.
That's what's happening to the
Or the
paddle boats.
person injured
Yeah.
by hauling a 50-foot kayak by themselves.
Yeah.
Dragging it.
So I just think it's a good investment for the, we can teach them how to use it, like Arwen and I can go down and, and then that was the other thing, Arwen wanted to talk to the staff about like how it would work and, so once this gets started, since you've approved it, if we could just maybe talk to them about how we make it easy, because that's what she's all about, is removing barriers, like how do we make this easy for the staff, easy for people to get in and get on the water.
Okay.
And the other thing is boat parts. So we have 2 paddle boards that aren't functional right now because they need about $215 in parts. Bruce DeShane and Sandy went down and looked at them, and Sandy checked on the prices.
What are they?
The paddle boats.
They're rotors and paddles
Yeah.
for the both
And
paddle
that would
boats.
cost about $215 total?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the quote that Sandy got.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else, Shannon?
Well, then the water at the park, which was the one that I saved for
Right.
last.
Yes.
We also have a plumber that offered to do that for free. I mean, both painting and a plumber. I put
Have to be
I
municipal,
put out a
they have
request.
to have municipal certification.
I think we need to listen what Shannon has to say about the water right now. Because I don't think she said everything that she needs to say about it. Am I correct?
It was Masters Plumbing. Who offered to EJ, I can't remember his first name, but Masters Plumbing offered to do the work.
Do they have the municipal plumbing certification?
I don't know, I mean, I assume
Because
they would
that
know.
is not every plumber has.
Okay.
My wife is in the school system, and you can't just call up a plumber, any plumber, it has to be certified.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, he
'Cause I guess it-
offered to do it, so I assume that he would know if he had, I mean, he knows it's a municipal
It's
project.
something that you could check into.
Yeah, I can ask.
Okay.
I guess the biggest thing too is wondering like where I think the question is where the shut off is, if we have to go down 4 feet to get to this frost-free zone, or if we could actually just cut it off at the level and attach our.
I don't think we can, I asked.
Yeah.
I don't think we can attach it.
You've
I
got to
asked.
find the pipe going to the frost-free
Right.
someplace.
Can reattach a new frost-free kind of deal, or?
The front, we're putting, my understanding, they're still gonna put a curb stop in, so that they can turn the water on and off with a drain, and then run the pipe into the building. Is that what they're doing?
No, that was Plan A, but we dug that big hole, and they didn't find the water, even though that's where the water district said the water was. They spray painted the line.
Yeah.
We dug down like 6-7 feet. I have pictures of the hole.
So
We
they
did not
still
find
put
the
a
water.
new
So what about
brazier
digging down
on,
deeper?
But it's all the way out by the basketball court, which is fine.
So that's what Plan B was. We were gonna replace it where it is,
Yeah.
because we couldn't find the water, and we don't know where the water is between point A and point B, between the existing curb stop on the road and the water that's working, that
They-
works.
They can mark that. They
They
do have.
did mark it.
Well, they have the technology to mark that right exactly now.
They did. They came out with their beep 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 machine.
They missed it.
Not only that, but we dug the hole and the guy got in the hole with his beep 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 machine. And it was still beeping, but there was no water.
Probably deeper.
And so they said that
That's
it's,
what I'm
well, that's
thinking.
one
I'm
option,
thinking it's
but
deeper than what you dug.
Probably way deeper.
he also
'cause
said it
that's
can
been
pick up
filled.
different frequencies, like it can pick up like not just water, but sometimes it can pick up other utilities. So I don't know the,
But most of them run on vibration. And
Yeah.
if they turn the curb stop on, the water
oh,
goes
the
through
water,
the
the curb
pipe.
stop was on, the water was rushing.
They should have picked it up. It
Then
probably
I'm
didn't need-
thinking it's deeper than what
Yeah.
they said
That-
it
that's been
originally
Why would
filled.
was.
why would somebody go out of their way to dig it deeper than like 6 to 8 feet?
Well, it's been filled. That area's been filled over the years. It's not, the parking lot wasn't there originally and that.
I went down to 1,000 rods and showed it on the other side of the building.
Oh no, I thought you showed it on this side of that side of the building.
I showed
Right
it
side.
on
Where
left
did
side
you
of
find
the
it?
building.
I looked at your line and it was on the right side of the building.
Was it? Oh, okay.
So
But it was on the opposite side from where you dug the hole.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe I was looking at the old line.
So
Yeah, 'cause I went down way after they had dug the hole.
Yeah, I remember.
And
I went down and looked at your
And I think
line.
I found it on the other side.
Okay.
I
That's not
found
where I saw
something
the
on the
line.
other
So,
side, but
Mark, is there any way that we can sort of like confirm that, or?
not without digging it up.
Okay.
I said I'm doing it with a dowsing rod. The guarantee
Right,
is,
okay.
you know, nil. But,
Well, I hear
Well, you
you're
don't-
very good at what you do.
But I'm just
so-
surprised that the water district doesn't know where the water line is, like, and I understand records aren't always kept, but it's just a little frustrating that it's like a wild goose
They're
hunt,
not.
trying to figure out where the water is.
Well,
Not this town.
I have a feeling that if they had that precise machine and it was beeping there, that the water probably is there but deeper than.
Do you know if they marked SOS marked it or Rural Water of Vermont marked it?
Our water district marked it.
Yeah, see it, SOS.
Who's SOS?
Rural Water of Vermont has a machine that does that for.
Oh, they'll do it?
Yeah.
Do they
Oh.
charge?
I don't know what I know they do it
That's
for
something to
Chris.
look into.
When Chris has some tough ones, they have to come in with that and do it.
Okay.
Okay, well, maybe we
So-
can at least pay for that to start.
well,
and
your
come up
plan
with-
is to replace the hydrant out, or the water out back, right?
We wanted to replace,
Yes.
first we wanted to put a,
Curb stop in. And then,
A shut off.
or shut off. And
So you
then
can
wire
turn
to
the
the
water off
building
next to the
now.
building.
But, like,
now the plan was to just dig up the existing spigot and
Right.
replace it.
yeah, okay.
However, the existing spigot is pretty close to the basketball court.
Yeah,
And that
But it
could,
doesn't go under the courts, not what I.
Right
It's like
on.
8 feet away.
No,
Real
but-
close.
Yeah,
but if you
It's
dig
down
it,
7 feet, 6.5 feet anyway.
Like a frost.
7-foot berry.
yes, and
It's not out by
I
much.
mean.
it's closer,
The caving over there is brutal because of the rocks.
and
Right.
it's closer than
Yeah.
10 feet away from the basketball court. And if you dig closer than 10
It would be
feet,
much
you
easier to
could have
find it out by the
potential
building.
problems.
Do we know
Dig
that
it
that
up away
doesn't
from
leak?
that, Disconnect that, put curb stop in there and come right into.
Oh, it would be so much easier if we could find the water.
Well,
I'm all
it
for
can
that,
be
it's a
found.
better plan.
I'm gonna be with Chris tomorrow working.
Oh, good.
I will find out.
Maybe
if
you
he
have
can
some,
mark that.
sway.
If it's anywhere near that building, that'd be nice.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Well, then we could just have it turn off in the building, which would make so much more sense. And we could even put like a hose spigot and
Yeah.
a water.
So I think
bottle
it
filler.
sounds like we need to find where the water is.
Yeah.
And then we can't really go on to other things until we know where the water actually is.
Well, you could move that outside spigot back over closer to the building
From where it
from
is.
where it is.
We'd have to dig it up.
Right, but if you could find out where the water was, you
Yeah.
could move that
If
back.
we could
Yeah,
find out where the
that'd be
water
awesome.
is, we could have
That would
water.
be amazing. We can find out where it is,
Okay.
because he's right, if we dig anywhere near that,
So
it's
my-
probably all gravel
Right.
underneath that, and once you start digging there, it's just gonna
We
keep
dug a
paving and
big
sliding
hole.
in.
So
that
my
whole
estimate
basketball court.
is that it
Put a bunch
seems
of money.
like the
damage
leftover
done.
money that with everything that you would like to spend it on, you still have about 2,000, 2,500 that is unspent of the money that you have left. Am I correct in that math?
I mean, we have almost all of it, because the only things that we can still do are buy the soccer goals. Well, Laurie, having Laurie get paid for some money, soccer
Do we know
goals.
what that amount would be?
Paddle boat.
We estimated 500, and then these two, yeah, so the,
And Shannon, we briefly talked about, and I don't know if this can be done before June 30th, security over there.
oh, right.
Yeah.
So we haven't
Oh,
even talked about that,
yeah.
because that happened after rec met, but we have
Right.
talked about getting a security, and I did talk to Brian about it, and I think the reason that was so cheap was because Brian did all the labor. And we also got donated supplies for like the wire and the screen and the whatever. And I think he's willing to do it again, so we could try to do that. I think it's a great idea to have another
Okay,
security
yes.
system at the lake.
Yep.
There was
we can-
another, just 2 days ago, there was another group that
Oh,
tried to
really?
do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we might want to budget more like, I think that system was like 500. I think we might want to budget closer to like 700 or 800, because we might need to
Okay.
buy a monitor. You know, we got all that stuff donated.
Okay.
And we also bought a lock box so that like even if they break into the little shed, they can't actually get into the
Oh, well,
machine, so.
yes.
We might want to budget more like 700 or 800. And plus the wiring, I don't know how much that would all add up to. I haven't, Brian
Okay.
said he would work up a budget, but we haven't got it yet. So maybe we
Okay.
can just estimate and it'll probably come in less.
Okay.
What type of monitor was it?
It was just a computer
Just a
monitor,
computer?
you know, like just so that you can view the videos.
No.
Just like any of those.
I think Sumio donated it, because he just had one laying around.
Okay.
So, yeah, so if we say, let's say 1,000 for the security, that's that's like 3,000, yeah, so I guess there's about 2,000 left. And so I was wondering, when the money doesn't get spent and it goes back into the general fund, like what is that? I don't really understand, like where does it go?
It just zeroes out
Yeah.
for a new budget, that's all. So
But where
the
does
new
that money
budget, they have the
go?
money-
But where's that $2,000 go specifically?
Disappears.
Just
It
gets
really does.
Virtually, it
Lost
goes
in
back
your
into the
taxes.
general
It goes
fund
into the general fund.
and lowers your taxes
For the next year,
for
right?
next year.
Yeah.
It makes our job.
So you
of
can't
making a
spend it.
budget
No.
easier.
Right.
No.
It just takes down the
But
future
your-
budget.
Right.
But your donations,
Yes.
I believe you can spend any time you want.
No, I just got authorization.
Is that
In
correct?
other words,
And we can also,
when you get,
We'll get it spent.
What?
We can't carry it over.
no,
There's enough stuff that we can.
The lock
Right.
on the shed down there is working.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing, the lock on the shed has been, have you heard about that? That the lock on the shed?
It's just beeping, like I enter in the code and it just flashes green. It's not even doing anything, so I don't know if it's battery's dead and it can't get it open, or if it's jammed, or.
Oh, and then the
Well,
gates
I haven't
were
had time,
300.
I was just coaching
And the
and then I had
paint.
to
And all
come
those
to Little
things are
League game and I
lower
rushed
than
up
you
here
need the
and
actual
I'm gonna go back
approval
down
for
there.
all that 1,500 each individual item.
So, yeah, it might add up to like 3,500 total
Okay.
with everything.
You have a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're moving over to, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so there's, I mean, I think we're
Big.
doing all those items, then it's just trying to figure out the
There's
last
some,
little bit.
just some
So it
little
doesn't-
things.
there's enough stuff that needs to be purchased.
There's
So
plenty of
spend
stuff that
money.
needs to be purchased, I just
We
don't
just
know
need to
like
get
how specific, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we
Yeah.
have,
I've never heard
we
of
could
it.
buy better soccer goals even, you know, if we had more money, because honestly, we were going in like the bottom, you know, the bottom rung and.
The other thing that you might want to think about is
I hate
that
to
if
see it
you
go
can
that far.
find out with this whole water journey, if we know that if you find somebody who can find where the water is, how much it would cost, what the cost would be on that, we could do what Julie was talking about before, which is write a check, hold on to it, and have that ready if we knew who we were working with and.
I mean, we did that last year and then
Yeah.
we didn't find the water, so I
Okay.
think Julie's probably sick of this water at the park. And
No,
we should just find
I can
out.
understand that, but that's the other way.
I mean, having a plumber that's willing to do the work for free is a huge help.
Yeah.
There's still gonna be materials, even if,
Oh, yeah.
even if the road crew digs the hole and we have volunteered plumber, there's
So
still
we
gonna
have an idea
be
of
some
how much
money.
that
But
material
we have
would be.
money, we have a budget for next year that we can
Okay.
work with to try to figure that out, so we'll
Okay.
just come back with a plan.
Okay,
We're gonna, if I have to dig a 20-foot hole, we might have to just do that.
okay.
So we could always use new life preservers at the lake.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, life
Yeah,
preserver.
those would be good. We were over there today. The gate heading into the lake from 140, I couldn't get the right one open. I
Oh,
don't know what's wrong with it, because we had the concessions meeting today and I couldn't get
I couldn't get the gate open.
no. So I did call the road crew and ask them to look at it. Maybe they can fix it for free, but
Yes.
if it needs a part
But
or
if there's,
something.
if there's something with the gate that needs fixing.
So can you guys just authorize us to spend the remaining funds on all of these
Yes.
priority options and work with Sandy on whatever is needed? And we'll just leave it at that, like
So
we've
I think
discussed
we can get consensus
priorities.
on this. I'm for that.
We're just-
Anyone else?
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll just buy rec stuff that's a priority for the lake and for the park, and
Yep.
we'll worry
Work
about
with
water
Sandy
next
and-
year.
like I said, you said you got some donations,
Yeah,
so those donations don't have to be spent by July 1st.
I don't know, Julie, did
I've
they?
never heard that. I've never-
I'm asking because
I thought they did.
No,
They
they
do.
have to be spent.
Yes.
even donations from an outside source,
Yes.
I've
that were
already-
not in the
I've
budget?
already put them in the general account, so
Oh,
It'd have to
okay.
go into their line.
they're gonna use it.
Okay,
This is
all right,
what they use it.
I'll start
Okay.
sending
Okay.
Julie lists of things, order before the deadline.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
If anybody's seen, the park's been filled all, the whole month of May, and it's packed every single night.
That's
so it's pretty
terrific.
exciting.
We want it used.
Yeah.
So much work has gone into that too, like hundreds of hours of volunteer hours have gone into like trying to repair those fields, and there's still more to do. Oh, in fact, that's the other thing that I forgot about, is
There
we
we
do
go.
wanna get
The
2 more
last-
loads of material.
So guess what?
Well, we don't need
Either
the
that or
money
if we need the
necessarily,
Right.
FEMA,
because
we're
I
gonna
think
use
with the
again.
FEMA reimbursement,
Gotcha.
but we did need approval for we were gonna ask if the road crew could haul 2 more truckloads for us.
Is that okay?
You gotta okay it.
Okay.
I could say yes, but you're gonna okay
But you
it.
can do it, but I'm checking to make sure that the road crew is okay doing that work.
Yeah, towards the end of the week when it's raining.
Okay,
Yeah, and we got the rocks moved, so you can dump it right on the south.
so another
Okay.
thing.
So I don't think that needs
That's
to come
what's
out of our
there.
budget though, does it? Because that's gonna be reimbursed from FEMA.
We good? Yeah.
How does that work?
Good with
A
that?
lot of hauling.
It'll go on your feet.
Okay, so we don't need to worry about that.
Yes.
Okay, then we won't worry about
It's
that.
yes.
Okay, so that won't come out of our budget though, because we're gonna get reimbursed from FEMA, so Julie works her magic.
That's all gonna
and
be, and we'll keep track of that on the
Figures that out.
timesheets.
That's a separate pot.
Okay,
I think I got one order for you.
Okay, awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
So that's,
Okay, I won't order that then.
okay.
People have them laying around. Okay, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Excellent.
I'm gonna stick around for a little bit, just kind of curious.
Okay,
Back to the field.
here we go. So we are moving on. Bees at Stone Meadow, we have resident concerns.
Mark's here.
Yeah, you've seen the letter, I mean, I said
Yes.
everything in there, so if you have any questions, I'm here, I mean.
Okay, so, the thought is, so, who's here with conservation about bees? Okay, so with the bees, do we normally, what happens with this colony of bees?
They make honey.
Right, but the thing is that, do we,
Can you
so we
read the
have,
letter?
I've seen the letter.
the group has not.
We haven't. Oh, okay. So who has Mark's letter? I might have it in the other packet.
Who wants one to see?
Hold on. I'll see if I can find that letter.
If you guys wanna be like center, I can move over.
Mark, do you have a copy of your letter, perchance? Okay. John, just a second, please.
Yeah, so the gist of it is, my daughter, my wife, and my father are all highly allergic to bees. So the question is, we don't go down there for that purpose. We don't know where they are, we don't know how many, we don't know enough about bees and what's going on down there. It's just a danger for our family, I'm sure we're not the only ones, our tax money's going down there, but we can't utilize that resource that everybody else can because of, the same thing with schools with peanut butter. If a child in the classroom has peanut butter allergy, you can't have it. So that's my question, and where's the town's liability on that? Because we're aware, so we avoid it.
Okay.
But if somebody's not aware of bees and they get stung by potentially town bees, where does that fall with town liability?
The people who put it in, I talked to, was all volunteer, and they asked our legal representation if we were going to be liable before they did it. Just because everybody's aware that not everybody's the same. And they came here from Vermont, League of Cities and Towns, and looked at it, where it was. You should know where it was. I mean, I think you can safely use this facility. I know you don't, but I think you can. And
I don't know because I don't know where it is.
well, you can find out. We'll show you where it is.
But
Tom
It's
Barone,
not- it's
Tom
not-
Barone, let me make a comment.
Just, wait a minute, I got the floor. Hold on. Go ahead. You can find out where it is. It's not near any of the trails with at least 50 feet. And there's not been a problem with people complaining about stingers. So, I'm sorry.
I pulled up your back of Stone Meadow earlier. I'm colorblind, so I can't read all the lines and know what all the trails are. But there was a symbol that looked like a bee. And it looked like, to me, it was on the main trail coming from the park down by the transfer station, going up to the top of the hill towards Elfin Lake. It didn't look to me like it was very far off the trail. Regardless of its location, I have been stung by bees to the point where I spent hours in the emergency room. I've been jabbed with 3 needles of epinephrine before they got me out of a car. So, I'm not afraid of bees, but I'm very cautious of them. If there are children around me and they see a bee and they start to get frantic, I try and calm them. The last thing I need is a nervous bee biting me. So, I don't mind the town has bees somewhere. I like bees. But I want them put in a place where non-suspecting people aren't going to come across hundreds or thousands of them. Now, if you want to put it over on the edge of the farmer's property or way off the edge of where there are no trails there, I don't have an issue. But I have an issue, I'm a taxpayer. I personally avoid that whole place because there are bees. I don't know if there's 500, I don't know if there's 1 million of them. But one of them is enough to put me in the hospital and maybe end my life. So, that's all I got to say. I put them someplace safe, that's all.
And I have a concern about the bees, but it's sort of a different tack. So when this whole conversation came up about bees, I happened to hear a report on National Public Radio that bees seem to be doing better, but that's kind of a misnomer. And what's happening is that you have native bees. There are 25,000 native bees around the world. There are 4,000 native bees in the US. There are between 275 to 350 species of bees, native bees, in Vermont. They're different than the honeybee. Those honeybees all are brought in, they are non-native. And there's different types of,
Yeah, I'm sure.
there's 2 different types of honeybees, mason and leafcutter bees. Neither is native. And the worry, they had somebody on who is a bee specialist, bee conservationist, and the worry is that people having honeybees is great, and worry about honeybees is great, but honestly, even with major colony die-offs, you're not going to see the honeybee go extinct. That's pretty much been said, that honeybees will, because there's millions and millions of honeybees in the United States. However, the local native bee populations are actually put at risk by people having lots of honeybees around for different reasons. There's parasites that can happen, there's diseases that can be brought in by the honeybees, taking up pollinating sites that the native bees would take. And so my concern about the Conservation Committee having bees is that the Department of Fish and Wildlife has recommended that people not buy bees to have, that instead they do things to help the native population thrive. So I guess my question to the Conservation Committee is it really conservation to have honeybees? This seems more like animal husbandry to me. And I am certainly not against bees, but I'm not sure that our local Conservation Committee should be supporting something that Fish and Wildlife is saying that shouldn't be done. That's my own opinion, and I'm up for hearing what other people say. And I'll just say one last thing. Since we would have to replace the entire colony of bees, and we do have residents with complaints, maybe things are leading us into a path that we maybe don't get bees for a year or 2. I don't know, and I'm really open for everybody else's comments on this.
So if we're consciously, and I hear you, I totally do. I know people who are allergic to bees. I've seen them have reactions, and it's terrifying. But if we are going to go to that length, are we going to get rid of the trash cans at the Ballfield that call the bees? Are we going to take precautions at the dump where there are also bees? Are we going to take more precautions here where there are also bees?
Hornets. They're hornets.
Yeah, they're hornets.
Yeah, but you think it'd sting you.
They stink.
But there's
Yeah.
a slight difference between shipping them in and providing and bringing them into the area than just having natural ones that just get attracted to everything.
And my biggest concern is that this is the Conservation Committee. Bringing in honeybees is really not conservation. Yes,
I am not on the Conservation Commission. However, I do have a severe bee allergy and I carry an EpiPen with me at all times. But I use Stone Meadow all the time, up and down all the trails. You have to go out of your way to be near the bees. There's a mowed path that goes in away and it's marked. So I don't think that it's hazardous at all. I have not had any issues there.
It has an
I am
electric fence
concerned
around
that
it.
none of the Conservation Commission members got the letter from Mr. Barone.
That's not
Although they
true.
were-
I sent it on May
Two
13th
of us got it.
to the select board, the conservation chairs, Denise
Okay.
and Ralph. They got it.
Okay.
Fine. And I'm also interested that you've introduced some new information. I do a lot of work on kind of native pollinators and I do not know this information that you're bringing forward.
It's
So
right
I
on Vermont Fish
hope
and Wildlife, yes.
you will not make a decision tonight
Right.
until we can really
Sure.
get a hold of this information and look at it.
And I will find it right on the Department of Vermont Fish and Wildlife. They have a whole section. In fact, Vermont is, I think, maybe the only state in the country that has mapped its entire native bee population.
I think it's our state insect too.
It could be.
I don't know how long we've had the bees, but we've had the bees for quite a long time. And they were initially, Kathy Upton, Peter Upton had met much of the equipment, and that's how we started. And we have invested a lot of time, and with the support of the town, and to keep it self-sufficient, they raise their own money from their honey, you know, so that we can continue to do this and not be a drain on the town. But we went and put in, you know, the gravel, we put electric fencing in and did all that. We put signs, then the state came in and they felt that it should be even more warned. So then we put in a split rail fence and even more signage because we were following everything that they wanted to do. And we even, last year, we had the pollinator garden. And I'll tell you what, we have more bees in my yard because I have so many flowering trees that my yard would be a dangerous place for people. You can't control where bees go, whether they're wild or whether they were, you know. So, I mean, we have gotten all the equipment and lots of hard work and trying to have knowledge, and it would be a shame to dismantle several years.
I'm not saying dismantle it or not do, I'm just saying put them in a place far away from trails where I might want to walk. I'm a taxpayer. I don't know all this information you're telling me. I have never seen it written anywhere of what you have done for signage or protection. Never seen that. Never seen a picture of the beehives. It's just that I know they're there, so I avoid the area. I have never brought it up, and I've talked about it to Bruce Duchesne and other people in town over the years. I never brought it up as an issue because the bees were there. I just avoided the area. It didn't affect me if I avoided it. But now that they're not there, and somebody's got to think about reestablishing them, I just thought it was an idea that maybe we think about where we locate them in not such a public place. That's my
have
only
new
point.
bees. We
You
have
do?
gotten new bees.
So you have new bees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
because time passes and the whole process has a beginning, middle, and an end. You know, we are interested in making honey. I don't believe that our bees are threatening the native bees because the Stone Meadow is a haven of pollination.
All I
and
would say
Well,
is take a look at the advice that's on Vermont Fish and Wildlife, because there's a whole lot of things, and it's, of course, not just us. I'm just saying that if the state recommends that backyard, that people with backyard, you know, operations should maybe think twice. Is this really something, maybe it's something that the Conservation Committee can go and investigate and discuss, really have a discussion about, so that you can have maybe a future plan on this. That's all I'm saying about it. You've got the bees now.
I think that's reasonable.
They're set up, yeah.
I don't think you fully understand what preservation people are talking, the conservation people are talking about. I think you've got one tilt to their argument, but I think there are other pieces to it that you are not getting. So, and again, we all, well, most of us like honey.
Right. But I'm just saying that's not conservation, that's farming.
Okay, I got it.
So I'm trying to see because, I mean, as we know, science, they're always researching stuff to see if this is
And
just
this
more
is new
information.
research. Right.
I just went to their site as we were talking, trying to see if there was a date on here because, something that was thought to be, I mean, we see that all the time, this is healthy, this is not. That maybe there is, documentation, a date and time, which that's new.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that the town has satisfied the liability issue by putting them where they are and doing what the lawyer said to do. It's, if you're over there and you get stung, could be from anywhere.
But
And our liability
But there's also another thing, if they are a conservation committee and they have a mission and vision to conserve,
I'm getting to that.
that's the different than the.
First thing, the premise that there's native bees, they're all non-native, because the pollinators in North America were bumblebees. The Indians had no honey. Honey didn't come here until the Europeans brought it here.
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly. Which means that there are native bees, but they're not honeybees.
No, they're not native, they were brought from Europe. Right.
There are many species in America that are not native
wild, or
bees.
you've got a controlled hive. Okay,
So,
yeah.
can the conservation committee maybe look into this and see how it may pertain and maybe some changes need to occur? Just to look into the Vermont wildlife, because that has been brought up, to make sure that what you're doing still falls into the scope of your mission and your vision.
Exactly.
We have just gotten new bees, so they're there and they'll be there for
But just so at least, could you just look into this and then?
For the future.
And also, it's off the pathway, it's off the main trail. There are electric.
We have no way of knowing that unless we go down there and the people are.
I'll give you my bee suit and I'll take you down.
Let me just make one last comment.
Yes.
And I'll drop it from here. The bee that put me in the hospital and made me the sickest, I was sitting on a chair at a campground and it landed on my neck. For no reason that nobody knows, it stung me. I don't think it was vicious either, and I don't know why it stung me. I didn't swat at it, I sat there as still as I could, and still got stung.
I get the honeybees down at my house, I'm a half a mile away. They come down from unless somebody else has got something around. But I get honeybees all the time, and I get big swarms of them. My wife in the flower
We have
gardens.
honeybees in our flower gardens too, and when they show up, I go the other way.
Right, but I'm afraid that no matter where we move them, they're still gonna land and be at Stone Meadow.
I realize that, but my concern is, there is a hive, I don't know what the concentration, I don't have any clue what the concentration of comings and goings of bees is.
Do we have a map that shows where
If
the
anybody
bees
could
are
ever
located?
say, I don't know what it is.
I think we drew a map at one point and showed them. It's right off the main trail. It's got an electric fence around it. It's got 5 signs that say, do not go any farther. If you go
So it
farther.
sounds like trails are marked to where the bees are.
Yes.
Like everybody said, bees travel.
Where the bees
Exactly.
And bees are good, but if the town has invited them to this spot and then they travel out, they've still been invited, that they wouldn't have been there beforehand.
Well, the pollinator garden is helping to invite them, and so is not mowing the fields, so there's more flowers and.
I'm afraid if they do move them, they're gonna be right back in there again, so
Okay.
I just don't think it's gonna do much good.
So I think we're coming to a conclusion on this discussion. Does anyone have anything to add at this time? Thank you for your time, and thank you, Conservation Committee, for your comments and
So we can keep the bees.
Oh, right now, yeah, you've got the bees.
And I just would say that bee pollination is conservation. And
Yes.
I think it's food production. It's many things that come under our jurisdiction in a natural, you know,
But we just have to be
natural way.
considerate of the new information
It's
that
helpful.
honeybees can be predators to native bees.
No.
Yes.
but
Yes.
Not predators.
I agree.
Yes, yep.
And they,
And I think we need
it's
to
in
explore their language.
That's why I would like you guys to go back.
That's why we like to look at it.
Yeah, we will.
That's why we
But
like
I
to
think
look at it.
they're not predators.
Because we should, follow what our state.
The state
Exactly.
recommends.
Well, let us take a look at it,
Sure.
see what the state recommends, whether it's new recommendations or
Exactly.
we review what they've changed and go from there.
Thank you very much.
And Ann's going to contact that man who's the expert on bees.
The
Because-
be the
because-
change guy.
Most of the change guy, most of the bees are gentle, and every once in a while, somebody gets them, which we wouldn't do, from Africa.
all right.
And they are predatory and angry.
Yes.
So I am not on the Conservation Committee, but I'm very interested in this because I eat food. I don't know about anybody else here. Does anybody else eat food? Anybody else eat food that comes from plants?
Yes.
I used to do it for a living, and now I grow for my family and for my community and for our food banks and whatever.
And the native bees
and without,
pollinate.
can I just finish?
Yes.
this? Thank you. And without bees, there ain't no food. And so while I respect the new information that you bring, I would just ask you I would just ask from a professional perspective that new information should not have been brought up. The conversation was the danger that certain people felt towards bees. I think the Conservation Committee has explained that nicely. I would also say, never walk under an apple tree in the spring. I mean, that's where the bees are. My comfrey plants are where the bees are, my zucchini plants. There would be no food. And so I think there's a level of foolishness if we think that not having honeybees at Stone Meadow is going to solve a problem. In fact, it's going to cause a problem because those honeybees are not only doing the pollinator garden, but they're also allowing us to have food in our gardens and our farms. So
Right. And
please
native
stick
bees,
to one issue at a time.
native bees also pollinate vegetable plants.
Not enough, but okay.
They do.
We gotta move on, Kathy.
Yes, we're moving on. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next part of the agenda is Constable at Ballfield.
Can we get the, Constable's here.
Thank you. We have Constable Robert Cook here.
Are we ready to start the next discussion?
Yes. We're going to start the next discussion. Are we ready?
So,
Do
Okay.
we need side commentary?
Yes. If we have anything else to say, we're moving on.
But I mean, they've had it for weeks.
Ready? Okay.
Hi, Howard.
Thank you for coming.
so
Yes.
this was kind of my idea or suggestion to have you ride by the ball field. We've had vandalism down there. We have the sheriff riding by all the time. Some of the stuff that the kids are doing is not the kids. It's not really a criminal offense. It's more of a civil. They're breaking the rules of the town. Understand you can't do criminal arrests or enforcement, but you can do civil enforcement. So the thought was, as a constable of the town of Wallingford, drive by, if you see somebody, all you have to do is say something. If they give you a hassle, just state that you're violating the town ordinance. If they continue to give you a hassle, pick up your phone, call the sheriff's department and let them deal with it. I mean, that's where I was, we need presence at the ball field. And
Yeah, I think you not only need presence, you need visible presence.
yeah,
By visible presence, what I mean is it probably would make sense if I was down there, meeting people, talking to people, walking around down there. But I have nothing that shows that I'm a constable. I have nothing, no identification,
Right.
nothing. That would make it a little tricky to go up to someone and say, hey, you know, by the way, I'm the town
Yeah.
constable and I don't like what you're doing here. Let me tell you, you need to follow an ordinance. I think too, if you're having a problem there, you're probably gonna have a problem at Elfin Lake.
right. Well, we already are, so that's why
So-
we're talking security camera.
I can tell you with having had conversations with the sheriff's department on several occasions recently, during the Memorial Day parade and setting up the traffic and all that with them, they are greatly understaffed.
Yes.
I've heard somewhere between 6 and 8 full-time officers. So one of the issues is not just driving by there, but it's when you go by there. I've been down there several times now since I received Sandy's email. And I can tell you that sometimes it's very busy. Tonight I drove by there, it was quite busy. I've been there other times when it's not busy. I've seen people though, a woman drive to the back with 2 dogs, let them out, let them run.
Right.
Whether she picked up after them or not, I couldn't tell you.
Well, and that's places where, because that's civil, you could, you know,
Right, and I've.
let them know that you know, that's not supposed to, without the leash, you know.
Exactly, yeah, and I've driven by there later at night, say 9, 10 o'clock, and there were a couple of dogs just running loose in there.
Right.
So I have the feeling that some of the people who might live in the area are just letting the dogs out.
Right.
As far as any vandalism or anything goes, no, didn't see that, but,
Right.
you know, I've only been down there several times. But I would suggest to you that if I'm going to do this, I should have a vest, something that says town constable.
Can we, I mean, are you willing to put, we could do a, like a magnetic sign on your car?
Yeah, that would help too, yeah.
And
And
a vest that has the constable on the back, I mean, those are pretty inexpensive things that we can get,
Yeah, and
you know.
just so you know, I have lights and siren on that car.
Okay.
I don't have blue lights.
Right.
I have red and white because I'm part of the fire department. The siren is also part of the fire department. If I saw vandalism going on, I think I could turn on those lights, turn on that siren, and if it's kids, they're probably gonna run.
Yeah.
If it's not, then,
But I'm not
if
sure,
they
I'm
don't
not sure how
run.
much we want them to run as to have the.
Right, but I'm
police there.
saying if there's something going on at that moment,
Right,
keep in mind, you don't have adequate sheriff protection here.
right,
You cannot expect them to respond that rapidly. When we have an accident out on Route 7, sometimes we're able to get officers. Eventually, we get state police.
right,
But it takes time.
yeah,
I mean, part of my job at the fire department is being out there in the middle of the road directing traffic all the time. Because I'm really too old to go running into a building, you know.
Right, right.
Nobody would want me to try and save them if they were in that building. So I can tell you that anything that I can do to help to minimize it or to drive some of that away simply by the presence, I'm perfectly willing to do. And again, I would suggest you include Elfin Lake in that. And there's another area you're probably not even aware of, but we've had complaints about it before. Hartsboro Road and Ice Bed Road, which I live on, they go into, Ice Bed Road goes into a logging road.
yeah. But
And that goes all the way through to Sugar Hill. Some of it, I understand, is private property, some of it belongs to, I believe, the National Forest.
But we're getting out of the town's realm of, I don't wanna say responsibility by going up there, but we're looking to stop the vandalism and the.
The only reason
issues.
I'm pointing it out to you is we've had complaints in the past about kids, adults, on four-wheelers racing
Oh.
these things on Hartsboro Road,
Right.
and then racing into the logging road, whatever you want to call it. That again, you know, it's going to be a problem because one woman called us a couple of years ago, I think it was, Sandy, and she said she almost hit one of these kids. They were racing with another, either child or adult. The one she almost hit had a child on top of her lap, driving the four-wheeler.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but this goes on constantly at this time of year.
Right.
Right.
We don't get it so much in the winter,
Right.
but that too is something that, again, if I'm parked there, I mean, I live there, for God's
Right.
sake. If I'm parked there, if they see a car that says Town Constable, I'm walking my dog 6-8 times a day out there. If I've got a vest on or something, it'll deter it, and it may save a life. So these are the things that I've noticed. And, you know, again, whatever you want me to do, I'm willing to do.
I think a visible presence is a deterrent just in itself.
Well, that was my thought, you know, just, so, I mean, if we look into getting him some, you know, stick-on decals for the side of the car and,
Magnet.
that's what I mean, magnets, yeah, and, you know, in a vest of some sort.
So just remind you, they're
Yes.
very limited.
Exactly.
State
Yeah, it's-
statutory
It is.
regulated
it is
that he's
civil
allowed. Very,
only.
very limited.
There's no, you cannot
I mean, the lights.
make a threat or anything criminally. You can't say, you could be arrested. I mean, you are
No.
there
Too
to,
smart for that.
well, it's just, they are,
We're getting in a gray zone with all of this.
yeah,
The object really is to deter,
Is a
not to
presence,
have
right.
to confront.
right.
If you do have to confront, it just has to be, hey, you know, you're doing this, it's really not the
So-
proper thing to
But-
do.
So
Could you
Sandy-
please stop it?
Yeah,
Right.
Also, take a picture of it.
Well, I can take a picture, I can get a plate number.
This is, I think when Mark started this, I think what he had in mind is probably what anybody in this room would do, is, you know, if you see something, you say something, or you call the
course.
sheriff. I think that's what you
Yeah.
originally
say
had.
something. If they don't leave,
Not
pick up your phone,
patrolling.
don't
No.
Yeah,
confront.
We're not asking for any patrolling or anything, it's just more like what Sandy
Right.
did when she confronted, or we had another person that's part of
Right,
the town
see something,
that happened
say
to be in the area and see something, to
Sure.
then say it.
But a
Not
car with a
any-
constable on the side's a little more deterrent than,
I think it's much more of a deterrent, to be honest with you. Even when I stood in the road directing traffic this last parade,
yeah,
I have a badge from the fire department. I've never used it, but I actually left it visible this
Yeah.
time. I had far less trouble with traffic than I've ever had.
Oh.
So, you know, there are deterrents,
Right.
and people respond to those deterrents. The other thing is, if I'm down there and I start talking to people and making friends, people are going to talk.
right.
They'll tell me what's going on, and then I can pass it along to the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Is that something you wanna look into, getting him some decals or some
A magnetic sign
signs?
and a vest.
And does that go out of the limited, having signage, is that within the limitations
I
of
mean,
the?
it doesn't speak
Yeah.
to that. That he's statutory allowed to serve civil and criminal process, destroy animals, kill injured deer, assist the health officer, serve as a district court officer, remove disorderly people from town meeting, and collect taxes if we have no tax.
And none of this is in that.
Now, I can tell you though, when I first started as constable, I went to 2 or 3 meetings that we had at the police academy for the Constable Association. Nelson was there too, because he was, I think, a president of the association. And we had constables there who were certified, very few actually, and we had constables there who were not certified.
Right.
They were running vehicles with said constable on the side, they had badges, some of them were carrying guns. You can do those activities as long as you do not overstep, and that's the key to it, really.
Right, so we're looking, like I said, my purpose of this was to deter
Exactly.
the people from breaking in and destroying town property.
Yeah, and if they know there's a big brother watching,
Yeah,
even if they are smart enough to know that I'm limited as to what I can do, they also know I can pick up a phone.
right.
And I have a radio in my car, which does go into state dispatch.
Yeah, I would not get the
Yeah.
fire department involved.
No, it has nothing to do with the fire.
But like your lights and everything, that
But,
would.
but your
Oh, yeah,
lights, your
yeah.
siren, that's.
Your badge, that's all.
Yeah, it's all separate from
That's all
the
the
town of
fire-
Wallingford. The fire department, we have to,
That's even a separate permit.
right.
Right, so
Yeah.
that can't, any of that
Yeah.
cannot be used in anything in
Yeah,
this role.
I mean, this is, like I said, a drive-by, roll down your window and holler at somebody. Or,
Yeah,
and
or get
they
out
leave, they
and
leave.
talk to people and meet them.
Yeah,
I think the more I get out and talk to people and meet them, the more it's gonna be helpful.
Thank you.
fine.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
And the town thanks you.
Oh, you're welcome. You haven't really asked me to do much, so I
Yes.
can't,
I mean, I voiced the concerns last time, just we are getting into this area
Yeah.
that is
That's-
beyond the scope.
I
And
think-
it seems to be growing and growing every time we talk about it.
Right, but I think as long as he doesn't confront anybody, and he's only there as a representative of the town, non-law enforcement specific. That's a very important top thing. You cannot,
That's why I would just be concerned if it's, at any point of making it look like law enforcement and patrolman. I mean, that, his position isn't patrolling
Well,
and maintaining, it is to serve, if we found somebody doing something wrong, to serve that civil ordinance. Not to discover the civil ordinance. Being broken.
there
It's
used to be
getting-
a 2-week course too at the police
But that stuff is
academy.
all kind of,
I don't
my
know if
understanding
that's
from
still
Nelson,
exists.
when we were talking about this position before, how a lot of that stuff has been phased out.
Right.
I don't know whether it's been phased out or not, but
Right.
there was a course I can do.
I just think the important thing is that it's more like see something, say something.
Exactly.
Not a scheduled patrol, nothing that is the appearance of you being like an extra law enforcement officer.
I don't think anybody would regard me as such.
But if you're going out and talking, could get then taken that way. That's kind of my concern, is if you're like,
No, I don't think so, because if.
I would.
If I'm
If you
looking,
were, I'm just thinking personally, if I was there and you were going around saying this, that's how I would take it.
saying what?
Like you said, you want to get out and talk to people and see what they
Right,
know.
just say
It's
hello, how are
Those
you?
conversations is where I think we are going.
No,
over
no,
the
no, I'm
line.
talking about greeting people, saying hello, how are you? Hey, your kid's doing a great job playing the ball game there. That's all.
I have every confidence
And
you
not talk to
understand where the.
Yeah, it has to be a
line is
private
you
conversation.
Don't go over. So I don't have to tell you anything.
Thank you.
You've got to quit babying these kids and people. Let them know.
I'm thinking of our legal liabilities, honestly, right now.
I don't care.
It has nothing to do with the
What
children.
about my legal liability for somebody that breaks into my house?
He cannot help you with that either. This is where we have sheriffs and why we need
But
to
if
up,
he's down
this is
there
where we need to look at
arrested,
upping our
he
budgets for
might-
sheriffs next year.
Just
If we
shoot
want
straight.
help, we need to get more sheriff presence here. They we cut the budget drastically and we were supposed to increase it this year, but to keep the budget low, it got cut again. We need to look as a town to see if we want to feel safe, the staff that we need, because even all he could do is call a sheriff. So that is where we need to think our priorities is, do we want more presence here? And at least have it in budget and then hope the sheriff can fulfill that and look at it. And I just don't want to make sure that we do not get a civil suit. That is where I'm trying to think, because we do have limitations on we have federal guidelines, and that is where I'm trying to make sure to keep our town safe, because that will also raise our costs if we have to have any legal ramifications if anything goes over. So I just want to make sure that everything is within the lines of because that is my job.
The last conversation I had with the sheriff's department, which was Memorial Day,
Yes.
they're refusing contracts. They don't have personnel to
Right.
cover.
That is what last budget
Yes.
season, we did talk to Sergeant Fox, and he was agreeing to try to budget in more hours, but then we had to cut our budget, which means we get lower on the bottom.
I think even if you had the budget right now, as
Right.
much as they would want to fulfill it, they really can't.
Well, he's actually gonna be at the next meeting, Sheriff Fox.
There we go, we'll talk to him.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm not
for
trying to
your
dismay you,
time.
I'm just trying to keep
No, I agree. with-
you safe too.
I don't have any intention of getting into an altercation with anyone.
Right.
I don't even necessarily feel I need to issue some kind of civil fine or anything of that nature. I just think if I recognize something, I can say something, as you said.
Yes.
And if they see a presence down there who's ever doing something that is not within the norm, they're gonna stop. I think a lot of them would stop. Anyway, there's others who won't, but there's a lot who will.
Do we have any other concerns? Yes.
Oh, not related to this.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that Robert and the sheriffs did a fantastic job at Memorial Day since that hasn't come up. It's the first year in 3 years we didn't have traffic in the parade, and they really did a fantastic job coordinating.
Thank you very much
and
for
making
that.
sure that everybody knew where they had to be, when they had to be there, and it was really a great effort.
We
So,
appreciate that, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Moving on, town hall boiler replacement and heat pump issue.
Well, Tom, we didn't have to move it on the agenda.
No, thank you.
We delayed this purposely so you could be here.
Yes.
First of all, there are two entirely separate bid processes here. The boiler replacement, you actually have a design. The SVT is finished, and I think you've shared that with everyone, and they're just waiting for your approval to put that out to bid. The heat pump issue is an RFP for a design build proposal. So there's no design. We've put as much information in terms of scope and whatnot to at least so you can get apples to apples. And now I'll let John do it.
Yeah, so just in terms of the table that you received today, just a little bit of background on that. So that's, a lot of people contributed to this analysis. Pretty much everybody in the Energy Committee contributed, as well as several external experts. Dan Ducross, as you know, designed the boiler system. Friday morning, Bill Losun took a couple hours out of his schedule to meet with several members of the Energy Committee to on site here to review the heat pump plans, both first floor and second floor, and we made some adjustments there based on that discussion. And then we also looked into supplemental as well, obviously thinking about it for holistically. These two systems are going to work together. They're integrated to work together. They need to be thought of together. So that was a great discussion. Steve Spatz from Efficiency Vermont, he's building and energy expert. He wasn't able to join us on Friday, but I sent him the outcome of Friday's discussion as well as this table. He looked at it over the weekend, and then I did get a chance to talk to him this afternoon, but unfortunately that was after this already went out and I wasn't able to get it to Sandy, so I can just refer to his comments as relevant as we go through it. But as far as the table itself, it looks complicated, but it's really not. It's pretty simple, actually. Like we said, the primary heating and cooling for the entire building would be the heat pumps. That's the most efficient system. That's what we like to drive the vast majority of the heating and cooling with. And then when the outside temperatures are such that the heat pumps can't meet the internal requirements, the supplemental would kick in. So those two systems will work together in that regard. So this is, since the primary system is the same regardless, this table is just meant to highlight differences between potential options for the supplemental, which I think, as you're aware, is probably going to be used fairly small amount at the time. But we just thought about some of the things that you might be interested in looking at and included it here. Maybe I'll stop there and just open it up for discussion.
So the discussion was our priority for this building is to replace the furnace that could die at any day. That's our priority. So, and then the heat pumps downstairs was the next step, and then the heat pumps upstairs was the third step. That was the original the discussion as we started this.
Yeah.
So
right now, to that point, the oil burner is the primary heat source.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The heat pumps will take over as the primary heat source. So
I agree, but I'm afraid that if we don't replace the boiler, as has been brought to our attention, we may not get parts for it. So it was the original plan to replace that first.
Yeah.
And then go to the heat pumps downstairs, and then to the heat pumps, you know, for the second floor at some point later on down the road. And without the heat pumps upstairs, we have to replace the boiler because that will still, because it won't happen by next winter, I don't think was the plan. So the heat pump, the furnace downstairs will still be the primary heat for upstairs.
So what won't happen until next winter?
The heat pumps, I think we had talked about it, the heat pumps on the second floor at this time hadn't been discussed because there hadn't been a plan or an idea, and everybody said that the existing heat and air conditioning upstairs with the replacement of the boiler in the basement will suffice for another winter upstairs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess things will start to suffice. It's whether we want to move on to, I think you're making a great point that, you know, you need to make sure that we have heat in this winter. Right, so whatever we do, you would need to make sure that the building has primary heat and supplemental heat. So the question becomes, to this discussion then, is it feasible to replace the heat pumps this year? So I think Friday's discussion kind of drove a lot of that planning ahead, not in detail, just more in just an on-site discussion with the heat pump expert, a local heat pump expert. I think drove a lot of that in terms of some tweaks to the design, the concept of putting the coil, the heating coil and the air handler upstairs to serve as the supplemental heat upstairs for the heat pumps. I think maybe part of the reason why the original thought, and other members can speak to this probably better than I can, they're more familiar with it, why the heat pumps would not be possible this year was because some of the concepts in talking to Dan was looking at the heat pumps a little bit differently, especially for the second floor, than Bill is. So I think Bill's concept is a little bit more leveraging what's here, and I think that those differences kind of show up in their cost projections as well. So, I mean, we didn't get down to the point of asking Bill, you know, what's the timing on this? When can it be done? Obviously, it needs to go through a bid process, but for the people who were in that discussion, to me, it sounded like he thought this was a feasible thing to do.
To get back to your point, the Energy Committee has done what you've asked. We have proposals for heat pumps for this floor.
Right.
And a design from mechanical engineer.
For the furnace.
For a replacement
of the furnace.
Oil burner.
Right, yes, yes.
So you're all set as far as that
Right.
goes. And what Tom is proposing is.
It's continuing on with the second floor.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So the proposal at the table is a holistic approach. It's not just second floor. So the table is thinking about the system as a whole and understanding what's the primary heating and cooling for both floors and what's the supplemental for both floors. It's going to work in an integrated fashion for as long as the systems are here and the building's here and we're working in the building. So we need to do it piecemeal is probably, we're not going to end up with an ideal solution if we do it piecemeal. If it's feasible to do everything together in a well thought out approach, that would probably be a good way to go.
So, well.
But again, to your point, it would need to be done this year to make sure that we're not at risk for the.
And looking at, and I'm not sure, like for this floor, the heat pump proposed by the historical preservation is to go under the stairs out back.
Right.
Not on the side of the building. You can't.
You have to take that up with your designer.
Okay, but I'm just making,
Yeah.
the reason I brought that up, we're gonna have the same problem on the second floor with the compressor outside and getting the cooling pipes upstairs. They can't go on the outside. If they can, they gotta be in specific places. So that's why we kind of talked about leaving the upstairs alone at this time and concentrating on everything on this floor where this is the primary use. I mean, the heat upstairs is, you know, very minimal during the winter. Like I said, the preservation, or the historical preservation wants the heat pump for this floor under the stairs out back next to the existing Lennox units.
Right.
Furnace can go in the same spot, My only concern looking at the prints for this furnace is they got them both direct vented out that side of the building, and I guarantee you they won't allow that, the preservation. So my solution, but I'm not a mechanical engineer, but would be to run that pipe for the exhaust up the chimney. Just drop a doesn't have to be lined, because it's
Just get in there.
just run a standard single wall pipe up the chimney to the top, use that as your exhaust. That solves one hole. And just looking at it, when we remove the hole on this side where the filler pipes go and the bed pipe for the existing oil tank, utilize that for the inlet of the air on this side of the building.
We've already got the louver for the inlet. So
What's
the pipe will stick out, where the louver currently is.
Okay, okay, all right. But that was something that I had seen, not realizing that. I hadn't looked at it real thoroughly, just from wandering around. That's what was my thought. They'd be less apt to scream about it.
A point of clarification, the historic people really didn't have any problem with the location of the outside units that we had proposed.
That was my opinion.
And
What they said.
They asked if during the meeting,
They would prefer them to be back.
Yes.
At the end, they said, they were very pleased with how we had hidden this one behind, where the building projects over by.
they didn't want them attached on the sides. They didn't want them attached, and let me just finish. They didn't want them attached on the sides. They didn't want the canopies on the side. During the meeting, I walked out and took a photograph of the rear of the building, and I emailed it to them, and they liked the rear of the building. They wanted them out there, and Bill Lawson came in and he said that was completely doable to have them at the rear of the building, and he said there would be advantages with eventually pushing the, converting those two Lennox units into heat pumps for the second floor. So everything would be out
So
there.
those are details you have to take up with your designer. Whoever the low bidder is.
Right, I'm just, there was a discussion between you and Mark about what historic preservation said. I was at that meeting, and they brought up that they didn't want these units attached to this building on the exterior. Mark understands, and some of the rest of the board member, the angst we had trying to even get a generator here because of putting new holes in the building, and there's no controversy that historic preservation would prefer. They didn't demand it. They preferred the rear of the building, and Bill Lawson said that was completely doable, so.
Yep, well,
Right.
take that up with your designer.
Right, I'm just adding to the discussion that we're having here, that that's where they would like.
So Sandy, from a point of functionality, the rule of thumb is you try to keep the distance of the piping between the outside unit and the inside unit to within no more than 20 feet. Because of line losses and efficiency, basically. So, plus, very much like a refrigerator, a heat pump defrost, so there's a drain pipe that has to be installed as part of the installation. So the simpler you can make it, the better. And putting it in the back complicates things, because it's a longer run, and it reduces your efficiency.
And just to add one other thing, I had a different opinion as to what they were saying. And I've done a lot of historic buildings, by the way. They have no jurisdiction, and they admitted it. Did they not?
There wasn't an issue about jurisdiction,
Right.
there was an
So
issue.
So they have no
You
jurisdiction.
asked me a question, and I'm trying to answer you, Jay. We didn't ask about jurisdiction. We knew that was ended because they gave us money for the elevator, and the jurisdiction over the elevator has ended. That wasn't the question we were asking. We were asking the impact on the historic registry listing. And he said, it was his opinion if we followed the recommendations that there wouldn't be. But he wanted to see the updated map plan, which we haven't sent him yet.
No, in fact, I'm gonna recommend that we eliminate this drawing and just do it by description instead of having a drawing. Because people are thinking this is a design, it's not a design. It was
Well, this is
always
what you gave him,
Wait,
and he
wait a minute, let me finish. If this is not a design, this was only to describe the scope, to show which rooms are being treated and which rooms aren't.
So he, in the meeting, he looked at your plans that you came up with, and he was giving his opinion on what you presented to him. So that's what the whole point of us even meeting with the state historic folks was to find out if there would be an impact on the listing, for the historic registry listing. That was the whole point. We knew that they didn't have jurisdiction. They gave us money for the elevator years ago. That jurisdiction has expired. It saved us from AT&T extending our cupola, which was nice, but it's since expired. But we still asked for a meeting for their recommendations to find out if, in their opinion, and I have all the emails, if this would have an impact on our listing, because this building's listed on the historic registry. That was the point of the meeting, not jurisdiction. We asked him to look at what you gave him, and he gave us his recommendations. One of the recommendations was that it would go to the rear. That's all.
It helps with grants and stuff to keep it on the historical.
Right, and so I'm going to eliminate this drawing. And you guys can work out these details with your designer.
So what you're proposing for the heat pumps, we have the design for the furnace, but what you're proposing for the heat pumps is to just put out an RFP to design and build with the idea, and at that time, we can recommend that we would like if we want to proceed that way, we can put we'd like the condenser as the only stipulation under the stairs, and it has to meet all historical preservation or whether, keep it clean.
So we talked about the RFP on Friday with Bill, the Energy Committee and Bill. And as part of that discussion, there were some changes to the heat pump plan for the first floor, basically adding 2 heads for the vestibule and stairway so that we can use the most efficient energy source to heat the coldest part of the building. And as part of that discussion, we talked about the RFP process of building off of the one that Ken drafted, giving that to Bill, who's aware of the issues with the Historical Society, is aware of what we discussed on Friday in terms of the overall plan of heat pumps for the building and also potential supplemental heat. He was going to update that RFP. We were then going to give that to Robbie to look at it from the electrical perspective and update that as well. Depending on if you go with something other than the propane boiler design is already in place. But if you were to go with something like the resistance supplemental, that could be incorporated into that same plan potentially, because the resistance supplemental is a fairly minor piece of it. It's four units in the office spaces. But, and it doesn't have necessarily the venting issues that some of the other things that you were talking about, some of those challenges that you brought up. So the different supplementals have different advantages and disadvantages depending on which one it is. So if we assume, for purposes of discussion, that we would only move forward with this plan if the heat pumps could be replaced this year before heating season, would you then be willing to look at other options on the supplemental heat? As part of that.
Personally, think the supplemental heat, that furnace downstairs needs to be priority 1, regardless of the heat pump source. I think that needs to be.
Even if the heat pumps and the supplemental heat could be.
I mean, I've got a heat pump in my house. If it goes below 0, it takes, cost-wise, more energy to defrost my heat pump. And Bill put it in for me. But it takes more energy to defrost my heat pump than I would be if I had straight electric heat in my house. So in other words, my electric bill goes up, more expensive by defrosting this, defrosting my condenser than it would be if I had oil heat running. So the cost savings is not there anymore once it gets down to the point where you're constantly freezing up and having to, thaw it out. That's where the cost, during the winter, that's where your, where the expense is.
So
just afraid with Vermont winters. Last year was kind of not really a good year because it got to below zero a couple times, but 20 below zero, you might as well throw your heat pumps out the door because they're gonna be defrosting all the time. They're not gonna really generate a whole lot of heat for your
You
building.
may not see zero again.
You're absolutely right, and when they are defrosting, guess what? They're not heating.
Right.
No heat comes out of it.
Yeah, so, like I said, I'm just, with that in mind, knowing we live in Vermont, I think our primary right now should be getting that boiler replaced, and going. And then run an RFP separately for at least downstairs. Because once the boiler is fixed, we still have heat upstairs the way it's plumbed now. Because it'll use the heating coils in the units up there and use the Lennox to keep it cool for now. I mean, it works. Is it good? Is it really efficient? Not really, but I'm just, I'm thinking, we're really concerned about that furnace surviving even limited use for another winter. I mean, that's kind of what started this whole conversation, was that poor decrepit furnace down there.
So one other thing we talked about in the last Energy Committee meeting was if we did go out to bid with the propane, just to keep that moving forward, to your point about the concern for making sure we have something.
Right.
Could we continue in parallel to map out the other option where the heat pumps will be replaced this year and a simpler supplemental heat would go in? I originally thought, no, you probably wouldn't want to do that. I was surprised that most of the Energy Committee felt, no, it happens all the time. People go out for bid, customers change their mind, it's no big deal. So is that a possibility? If we take the propane boiler out to bid, what you have there already, just keep that moving, make sure that critical path is met, it's there, but in parallel, talk to Bill about get some more clarity on the overall system. Based on, like I said, my conversation with Steve Spatz today, he thought that the air to water was feasible here, just like Bill did. However, he did raise some concerns about the temperature and some of the specification that we would need to make sure are met. But the resistance baseboard one on the far right, I mean, that's a very, very simple, straightforward approach. He seemed to think it was very economical and made a lot of sense.
Right.
So, I mean, could we explore that in parallel while we continue to go out to bid for can we keep the boiler moving in parallel?
And would this be proposal number one that we're?
Well, number one is the propane boiler, and so the first row is the primary, it's heat pumps for everything, right? First and second floor. I think we're all on the same page on that. Then the other question then just becomes, well, the timing of things.
Yes.
And in either case, I agree with Mark, it needs to meet this winter. And then the other option then would be what's the supplemental, right? So again, it's going to be used fairly infrequently, but there's some big differences in terms of cost and other attributes of these things. So, I mean, I would hate to see the town be forced into a decision based on a fear for something and do something make a decision this year that we'll live with for 30 or 40 years, both the system and the operating costs. If there's something we can do in parallel that would keep both options on the table until we get more clarity and alleviate some concerns on both.
Are we talking of replacing the boiler and then putting in a different supplementer?
No.
No, okay.
No, we're talking about if your primary concern, what I don't think I'm hearing you, is that we don't want that boiler to die this year and have no source of heat here.
Exactly. Right, yes.
So there's two ways to do that. One is we just all hands on deck on replacing that boiler.
Yeah.
I think that's where we were.
Right.
Another approach would be keep that going full steam ahead, take it to the next step, take it out to bids in parallel. All hands on deck on seeing is the more desirable system of having the whole building redone with heat pumps and perhaps a less costly, cleaner supplemental system put in. If that can all be done before this winter, would you potentially, and it could be done for less money, both up front and down the road on an ongoing basis for the next 30 years, would you do that?
So basically what you're saying is keep going towards the boiler, but also explore the option of the heat pumps and the other supplemental.
The next step for the boiler would be to take it out to bid, am I right? Is that-
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so.
So take it out to
It doesn't cost
bid.
anything to do that, right?
Right.
Or
It
does it?
doesn't cost anything
No,
to take it out to
no.
bid.
So take it out to bid. In parallel, we just had the discussion with Bill. I just talked to Steve today. When I talked to those guys and then we talked to Robbie, those experts seem to think it's doable, right? This other approach. So let's take that, it's all, fairly early. Let's take a look at it. I mean, from a risk perspective, having two things going in parallel is lower risk for you guys.
How do,
Because it gives options.
It gives you options.
how does a resistant wall mount work if there's no power?
Well, if there's no power, nothing's going to work. So one risk with no power is, and Ken brought this up at one point, the importance of supplemental systems in a building. If you have extended power outages, as it seems like we're going to have more and more potentially, one risk is frozen pipes, right? So some of these supplemental heat options, you drain the hydronics and it's no longer a risk, it's gone. So,
Before, can I just ask a question before I lose my husband because there's no dinner on the table?
Don't want that.
How would electric baseboard heat, it sounds similar to it, maybe a modern version of it, would that heat the room satisfactorily enough to be comfortable?
so that would be, that's the supplemental heat. So the primary heat source is the heat pumps. Okay, so they will operate, and each, based on the
Right.
design, they'll be designed.
But if it's
to
really
operate.
cold, what would the electric resistance heat be able to bring the building up to, comfort level?
Yeah, so I don't know that we have, so it'd have to be designed to meet the specifications of the building. So I talked to all the people that work in the building, just trying to get an idea as to what's your comfortable winter working temperature. So the only one I missed was Erica, who's part-time, but it sounds like 68 degrees is about what their maximum working temperature. So the goal would be have a system, an integrated primary and secondary system that can keep the building at 68 degrees in the temperature range that we're looking at. There's a lot of ways to do that. Some ways don't cost anything, right? There's some procedural changes that you can put in place, like smart scheduling of rooms and events, where you just do things that make sense and save energy regardless of which supplemental heat system you put in, right? Those are things we can do. But then there's also going to be windows where you're going to, like to Debbie's point, the heat pumps are not going to keep up, and the supplemental is going to have to kick in and meet the needs that are required. So that 68 degrees is going to have to be met. If it's working hours in the building and it's 0 degrees outside, or, I mean, we talked about maybe a 0 degree work from home policy, right? They work from home now on Fridays, why not, if it's the few days when it's 0 degrees in the middle of the day, maybe that's a work from home day. But
I would like to address that as a former real estate appraiser. But appraisers, lawyers, all kinds of people need access to the building to get their records. We have to go into the vault and get the tax maps and the deeds. We have to physically be here. Our jobs, we can't do them remotely.
We have to stay open.
Huh? They have to be open to the public.
You have to discuss it with Julie, she's the town clerk, she
Yeah.
sets the hours of the building.
yeah, procedures can
No,
change.
but you know what I mean, we can't have them canceled because of cold days.
Oh.
Because we schedule our appointments no, I'm talking about, no, because I know about the Fridays. But we schedule our appointments to see properties
Yes.
when we're able to get access.
Right.
And if it's too cold that day,
Yeah.
then we can't do our work.
So I think to answer your question, Debbie, the supplemental heat will have to meet the building.
would have to meet that.
Regardless of which supplemental heat system it is,
Yeah.
whether it's baseboards or wall mounts or hydronics from the propane boiler, they would all have to meet the needs of the.
Okay.
And it would be designed to do that.
But I just got a little alarmed about working at home days.
Well, I mean, it's
Because
just-
there's a whole lot of people who couldn't work.
So, Kim, I had a question. Tiffany was here the day we had that meeting, the Zoom meeting with historic preservation. And he saw me running around taking pictures and he asked me what was going on and I told him about heat pumps. He said that the town of Wells had, because he works over there sometimes, had put in heat pumps. and he said they were outside and they were not attached to the building. So I contacted the Wells folks, the town clerk, Nora Sargent, and she said that they have a number of heat pumps, and they were all on ground stands, not only on their historic town facilities, but on the historic library. And she said Dorset Historic Buildings also had heat pumps on ground stands on the exterior. So I'm wondering if, like what you said earlier, it's not efficient to put it in the rear. Why could we not them have on ground stands on the exterior of the building, which was the first suggestion Historic Preservation made. Having them not attached to the building, then you could have them on the sides, but just not attached.
And you can.
Yeah.
It's just a preference. We recommended them being wall mounted because to get them up above the snow line,
Yeah.
when they're sitting on the ground, somebody's gonna have to go outside
And shovel.
and make sure that the access to the veins are open. So it was a maintenance issue.
But they said, like, I think they put on, like little roofs above them, just build like
Yeah,
little.
well, we can't do that unless it's hidden out back. I mean, well, we can, I
You
guess,
know,
but.
I mean, they did say that they have historic buildings in Wells that they worked with the
Yeah.
state on. And the
they
company
have the
that they
covers?
used to install did a great job. I've got her email that they did a great job of concealing them outside on ground stands. So,
Yeah, mine sits up about that far off the ground on a stand. It just sits on, I was gonna put a cement slab in and actually Bill install these. We'll just put it on a stand to come along and they're fine.
Thing that concerns me is we're in a historic building here. There's no insulation in the walls. There's windows everywhere. Running resistance electric heat is going to be an issue. I'm not sure I understand. We've got more work to do on this, but we have, we have to keep in mind what we're working with in this building.
I have concerns about the supplementary heat also and the only reason is if the timing of the heat pumps is ready to go, supplementary, but we've already put a furnace in. We take off that supplementary heat off in other words, if we get estimates back in the furnace, are we gonna sit on those until we get our designs back for the other? I'd like to pick a supplementary heat source up front. That's my opinion. Just something to go with right now.
Right.
And make that decision. And then when we do this, we do heat pumps and a supplementary, you know, that's just my concern.
I would just say that there's been a lot of thought has gone into these three, mapping these three options out for you guys for that exact purpose. So that you can make an informed decision, recognizing that it's important. It's important for the town, both upfront cost and long-term operating cost. And also, you know, I'm fairly new to the Energy Committee. I've been associated with VCAN for a number of years. I've been working with them for 5 years. And as part of that group, you get a kind of a pulse as to what's happening across energy committees in Vermont. And the trajectory is not installing fossil fuel systems, it's taking them out and electrifying. So we are moving a different direction than the rest of the state and probably beyond the state border if we go that direction, but that's the purpose for putting this together so that you can see all the different aspects that are important to yourself and to the taxpayers and just understand, you know, the decision that you're making. I hear exactly what you're saying about the concerns about making sure, we gotta make sure the town hall is heated this winter. So first things first, and the best way to do that is to have two things going in parallel. And to your question about what happens when you get the bids back, I would say we look at what we have at that time and you make an informed decision then, as opposed to, you know, stopping something now with a less informed decision.
Because the extra supplementary heat was something that hadn't been discussed, actually. I don't remember it being discussed until we got this. We had talked about heat pumps downstairs, upstairs, and putting in a new propane furnace. So this additional, or not additional, but this other supplementary heat source, to my knowledge, unless I missed it, had not been discussed until this. So I'm a little concerned, I'm a little concerned about putting more load on an antiquated power grid in the state of Vermont. Yes, they're increasing it, yes, they're rebuilding it. But
The extra load associated with a supplemental resource, so the primary load is gonna be the same, because the heat pumps are the same for everything. Right?
yeah,
So
but
the
heat pumps don't draw as much as a electric base pole.
Right, but it's this, again, that's supplemental, it's a
Right.
small portion of the time,
Right.
so, anyway.
And I know we're looking, you know, I know the big thing is green, but the town, I think, also has to look at cost savings. What is cheaper, what is our best bang for the buck?
Yep.
In my opinion, it's propane, only because it's cheaper, less efficient to, or should say, less cost per BTU than electric is at this point, I believe. I'd have to double check,
They'll
but.
indicate it differently on
Okay.
Friday, and then, of course, there's the solar, so we don't have time to get into it, I'm sure.
Yes.
But we're looking at the community solar as well, we have some coals in the fire there.
Okay.
And I think that's where the long-term operating benefits come in, once you have that, the assumption is we're going to that. We
So-
need to go to that.
Yeah, we gotta get moving on, but.
So what do we think about the proposal of pursuing both? Putting in a bid for the boiler while also looking into the heat pump proposal?
Yes.
Are we up for that? So we're going out to bid on the boiler, and then we're pursuing
These guys, yeah.
what the heat pump.
Okay, do I have the
Exactly.
RFP?
We can't.
Okay, Sandy, so
Do we need to?
if we're in agreement, to go both ways, one way is we have to let the engineer know to write the RFP for the furnace. And we also have to, someone has to write, or an RFP for engineering and installation of the heat pumps and supplementary source. Is that something you guys are gonna do, or?
Well, that's something that, Jay has been talking about, what do you call it, design build with whoever the installer would be. Today when I was talking to Steve, he asked me, well, did Dan do that as well? And I said, no, he's been focused on the propane boiler only. So that alerted me that, well, if we're in a rush to get it done, we could potentially pay somebody to do it. What we talked about on Friday was just have, start with the draft that Ken put in place, make the adjustments based on Friday's discussion of putting in the extra heads, and it's a change in the system as a result of that to a Samsung. And then also with the upstairs, putting the heat coil and the air handling system, basically combining those all into one plan.
Okay.
And then as part of that plan, if you wanted to consider the resistance supplemental, that could be incorporated. It's actually fairly straightforward in discussing it with Robbie. He looked at the wiring on Friday, so I think he's comfortable, but we could incorporate that all into the same plan. So that could be, I know Bill's a real busy guy, so if Bill turns out to be too busy to really get it done in a short period of time with what you would need, then we could potentially take it outside as well. Yeah, I don't know if Dan could.
So who will, you mean, so we have to write up a engineering design, or an engineering installation RFP, right? And you're saying Bill was gonna do that, or is that's something, it's not, we take your design originally with your additional heads, and that should be all we need to send it out to?
Yeah, so I haven't seen the draft that Ken put together, but you have. So
Yeah,
that's where, I was thinking that'd be a starting point. Does that sound reasonable, Ken, to you? That's a starting point. We take the modifications based on Friday's discussion with Bill, incorporate the second floor. So you have heat pumps for the first and second floor, and potentially the supplemental.
But a suggestion with that also is first floor heat pumps, as a design line item. Second floor heat pumps as a design line item, and your supplementary heat as an additional item. So you bid on all three, as, you separate them out, in other words. So if we have to pull something out, we can pull that out and still have, still have an extra.
So right now, we've completed for the first floor, we've got bid documents for that, Sandy, correct?
For
just the heat pumps for these rooms down here?
Yes,
Yeah, it needs to be tweaked a little bit.
I have Dan Duper's engineering boiler replacement.
No, they sent us a while ago here, he sent us where the heads were gonna go and stuff, just to, I don't know.
That's not an RFP though, is it?
Right.
We were in the process of building it.
So again, is that something that you guys will finalize for us?
We'll try.
Okay. I mean, you understand, I mean, we're kind of all on the same page of where we want to go with it.
So it sounds like we're moving ahead with the RFP on the boiler.
Yeah.
It sounds like how we're gonna move ahead with the other part is sort of in question, so I would love to pursue it, but we need to have a plan.
So the plan that we discussed on Friday.
Yes.
Was that we were going to take Ken's draft for the first floor, update it based on the changes that we discussed. So we're adding 2 heat pump heads to the vestibule and the hallway. The back one will cover the bathroom as well, in Bill's opinion. We discussed what's required for the upstairs, including the heating coil and the existing air handler as the supplemental heat source for the upstairs in addition to the primary heat pumps. The plan was to take Ken's draft, have Bill update that based on those heat pump plans, then pass that to Robbie and have him update it from an electrical perspective. Well, all I'm saying is that if timing is critical,
Exactly.
and if it's a race against the propane bid packages,
Exactly.
we could also take that out if Bill's schedule doesn't allow. We could spend some money on that one as well, right? So.
What do we think of that?
Yeah, if they come up with the design installation, package, we get it out right now.
Okay.
But like I said, my thing is keeping them separate.
Yes.
Floors and the supplementary.
Keep those 3 pieces separate.
Yeah, just line items, yeah. And then reach out to the engineer and have him put the RFP together for.
Well, I mean, this is pretty much is.
Okay.
I mean, the plan and the 70-page specification.
Okay,
that I
then-
sent you, it's pretty much it.
Do you have recommendations on who to send those to?
He does need to, he said, attached to the plans and specifications, which I sent to all of you, we're ready to bid the project when we get town approval on the documents. And all we need to nail down is the bid dates after you approve what he said, of these plans.
Yeah.
So we just need bid dates.
Sandy has to advertise it in the Herald.
Yeah.
And, we'll probably send out an invitation to a few
Yeah, okay.
contractors.
So, I mean,
But you
it's
had
gotta be up
questions.
to you guys to the board.
You
but-
had questions on the.
Well, and again, my questions on the design of the boiler was putting access holes through the side. But if there's already a vent there that we can use
For the intake.
for the intake, we're good. The exhaust would have to be modified to use a chimney or go out somewhere. I would, my preference would be to use a chimney. We got it, use it. Cause it doesn't have to be a lot of these new boilers are, if I'm not mistaken, are PVC exhaust.
Low temp, usually.
Yeah,
They are, but I'll ask Dan, but I'm pretty sure he'll say no because the flue gases aren't hot enough to draw.
I gotcha.
You probably have to put a fan in it.
Yeah, okay. But if you could, check on that. Cause that would be my only thing is like I said, we already got one for the intake. Hate to put another exhaust out, but at the same time, if we're pulling the oil tank, we can come out the other side with the exhaust.
Will we need a motion
Where the
for
oil holes
this?
are.
You'd need to approve the plans and then set a date for,
That'd be fine.
for the bids.
Okay.
But I mean, if you want to approve it with Mark's caveat, and if you can give me the phraseology, I can email that to Dan Dupree.
Okay.
We can talk about that tomorrow, but I want in an email to document your concerns and let him respond.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my suggestion was not to put any more holes in the building, so utilize the existing vent
Right.
on the east side of the building for the inlet and possibly move because we have the exhaust gas temperature issue, is moving it over to where the exhaust to where the fill pipes are on this side of the building in this corner. And that should solve, we'd put no more holes in the building, that should solve all all
put a
issues.
Booster van.
What's that?
You can put a booster van in.
Well, that's what he was talking about.
Right.
They make,
Yes,
Yeah.
oh, no, yeah. So it could go either way, but
Okay.
chimney or whatever, you know, either way.
Okay.
So you could, if you want to set a date, I don't know, and Mark discussed this at the last meeting, maybe Tom, if we could get a point person on energy to, I know we discussed it as the last meeting, but there was just kind of a general, we're all here, we're all around, but this is a big project, and it would be nice to have a point person, if Tom has time.
I mean, we could look at the
To
bids
be
and make
like
that
kind of
decision, but
not
to
so
show
much a
people
project
around,
manager,
we
but
don't, we
guidance.
don't have time.
Okay.
Like one person that would be kind of a guidance. Ken did it so efficiently when we did the weatherization in the basement.
Yes.
The insulation and all that. He was here when they did it. He was here after. He got a checklist to make sure they did everything that was in the contract. They found some stuff they didn't. They corrected it right off. It all worked seamlessly. This is a much bigger project than that, and that would be nice if somebody on energy would be willing to do that. Maybe you could do it in piecemeal. This person could be the check, maybe, you know, Ralph if he wants to, or whatever, on the boiler replacement, somebody else on the heat pumps. But I think it needs to be more than just anybody on energy who happens to be available. I think we need.
Because when it goes out to bid, they're
sort
gonna
of a
want to
local
look at it.
project manager.
We just, you know, don't have time, you know, most of it, you know, we got a full-time job and Sandy's buried, so
Well,
it'd be nice to have somebody come in and coordinate that and show them through.
Right.
Yeah, he will have a mandatory walkthrough of the project.
Yeah.
The engineer will be here, and so they take care of that.
Who,
Yeah.
an engineer that Dan Dupree or somebody we will be hiring?
Yeah.
So in the contract we already have with him for $4,000 includes seeing this entire project to fruition?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll have some inspections involved. He'll
Okay.
probably sign off in the end, do a punch list.
Okay.
And now Sandy, we need to set dates?
Yes. Okay. So we need a site visit day, I'm assuming, Ken, right? We would do a site visit on the boiler replacement?
Typically, yeah.
And
That's
then
what happens.
a date due.
What do you do, push it out 2 weeks? I mean, you have to warn it with I'm not sure, I don't.
I think Sandy should work that out with Dan.
Okay, all right.
You think what?
I think you should work that out with Dan.
Work the date out with the engineer.
He asked.
Oh, he asked us?
the town to set it.
Oh,
Okay. So how soon can we set a date?
Is,
I mean, you're gonna have to go a couple weeks anyways, I would think.
I would think a minimum.
so if he finishes the paperwork this week, maybe we issue the RFP Thursday? We could issue, put it out if he can finish whatever finalized paperwork he needs to do. on
This
the RFP.
Thursday?
We could do it this Thursday or next Monday, the 10th, and then
When will the showing be?
that's what we would have to figure out. We say if we issued the RFP next Monday,
Do the showing 2 weeks after that?
so,
It's the end of June.
yes?
Yeah.
So,
So that would be
Yeah,
the
okay.
24th?
we could do the 24th. I am not gonna be here, but I don't need to be here. That's why we're gonna have somebody from Energy overseeing this.
I'll let you know.
And particularly,
Okay.
you need to check Dan's calendar.
Right. So reach out to him, suggested dates, see if that works with him and.
Because he's asking for us to set dates, so
Right,
that's
but
why we're.
But he may be busy
yeah.
that day, that's.
Right, yeah.
So if we set dates and then he'll confirm whether he's.
Like the
available.
week of the 24th.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's the site visit date, and then we should at least give them a few more
Yeah.
weeks after that to submit.
And I would do the heat pumps at a separate day. Because you're gonna do a separate bid. So I would do those.
July 8th could be maybe the date they're due, or July 15th, maybe, that would be.
But once
so
you
that
come
would
in
be-
for the site visit, you probably want, what, 2 weeks?
So if they
I would
come in on
think
the
at least.
24th, but you have a
Yeah.
July 4th holiday,
Yes.
so maybe July 15th, could the RFP?
Yeah, as long as- yeah.
Okay.
It's due?
Yeah.
It's due July 15th.
And then the other one, you can run almost the same schedule, but different days. In other words, the RFP
Oh.
for the heat pumps and the supplementary
I mean,
heat.
I'm assuming the RFP needs to come back to you folks for your review before
Right.
we actually issue it.
Right.
On the heat.
Yes,
So,
but I mean, that's pretty much almost all set.
I mean, if we could put that
So
on
could that be-
the 17th,
Could that be on the next meeting?
the RFP for the heat pumps.
Yeah.
Could you
Could
just
the
have to add
RFP for the heat
additional
pumps be at the
that
next
has-
meeting?
You know, and you're change your drawing,
Not if we incorporate the second floor. That's a totally different creature.
and that hasn't started yet.
No.
And Robbie's talking about having to upgrade to 400 amps.
So there's a
So-
little twist. So then what do we want to do with that?
Let's hold off on my suggestion is we hold off, I mean, we're at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Possibly next meeting for to finalize the heat pumps and supplementary source,
So we can work out the details.
because there's a lot of
Yeah.
details and we'll be here, or a separate meeting if we,
If we need to. Yep.
just, because that may be all we need to talk about the night when we talk about it.
Exactly.
It takes a lot of time.
It
There's a
takes
lot-
time.
A lot of details in that.
Yes.
That's why we've kind of been kicking the can down the road for so long.
But it's time to, yeah. Okay. Thank
Do we
you.
need a
Thank
motion
you.
to go out to bid for the boiler?
We're all set on that.
We're inching our way there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shade.
Stop asking you, Reed.
Okay.
Sorry, and I apologize for
Oh, no, we needed,
asking all questions. but
no, but that's
That's an
important.
awful,
No, it's,
that's an awful,
Dirty
Yes.
job, but somebody's gotta do it.
that's it.
no, it needed to happen. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so Energy Committee resignation, David Castagway, is resigning from the Energy Committee. And do we accept his resignation?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And so, yes, I will sign that letter of appreciation.
Oh, good.
Okay. So now we're on to Shade Tree Preservation Committee appointment.
Yeah. And AWOD, to fill out the squad.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Added agenda.
And now we're adding on, yes. Permission to sign.
If the select board wants to authorize Kathy to sign the sub-grant agreement if it comes in before the next meeting. If it comes in at the next meeting,
Yes.
we'll just.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that can be consensus?
Yep.
Okay. There we go. Pharmacy and health clinic request. Last year, Town Hall was a pharmacy project site for folks to pick up bags of fresh vegetables weekly throughout the summer, provided by Vermont Farmers Food Center. Rutland Free Clinic would like to offer free health screenings at Town Hall just once this summer during one of the pharmacy pickup periods. The clinic would be one afternoon on the second floor. So do we approve?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay, we approve. Bulk mail permit request. Rita Reynolds requested permission to use the town's bulk mail permit, send out a newsletter for an annual fundraiser.
Fine with that.
Okay. Yes.
By consensus?
Yes. Yes.
I love this.
Amazing how fast we can go.
Oh, boy, yes. And now we are on to Peddler permit fee waiver.
Make a motion, we waive the fees.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unlicensed dogs. They must be registered annually by April 1st. The town clerk's office contacted dog owners to remind them to register the pets. Enclosed is a list of pet owners who have not registered their dogs, as well as the letter we send out each year.
Make a motion, we send the letter out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second
Wait a
it.
second.
Am I on that list?
Aye.
All
You
those,
are now.
all those in favor?
Hand him his now, will you?
Yeah, give me mine now.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Select board comments, concerns?
Not anymore.
I'm sorry, just a little short one.
Sure.
Okay, but honorable mention should go to Sandy Switzer for busting vandals down at the concession.
I think that's true.
That's, yes.
Yes, I agree.
And, you know, we gotta nip it in the bud, and I was thinking of putting their name in the paper, in our paper. And I asked Walter Getz about it. And they have rights, especially if they're under 16. How old were they?
Oh, the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
No.
under, yeah,
Okay.
they're all
So,
13, 14.
a suggestion, and Kate does this in Rutland, is reparative restitution.
Yeah, restorative justice.
And so what the idea would be is you approach, they've got 2 years
Yeah,
Right.
that they can't be there.
right.
Approach them with a offer to take a year off and then have them meet with all the people that they affected. Anybody who takes care of the thing, anybody who, and listen to what they've done and taken away. And that sounded like a good idea to me. So if you guys,
Yep.
I call Kate.
Okay.
This is her thing. So maybe
So the trespass that's again gone to the civil thing. It's not
it's not even
it's served by the town.
It's not even an arrest. It's a notice.
Right.
Right.
So next time you go on there, you can't be arrested.
Right.
But now it's very hard to.
Right.
But it wasn't issued by anybody other than the
No,
town.
it was issued by the state.
It was issued by the sheriff's department.
By the.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not
No
it's
trespass.
not a judge issuing
No
that.
trespass
Right.
order, no, it's a ticket.
Right, from the
But
town,
it's a
right.
record.
Yeah.
There's a record
Right.
of it. And, you know, that would be
What do you think?
a healing approach, hopefully to bring these kids around, especially if you say they're under 16.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neither thing is gonna.
Well,
Okay.
okay,
All right.
all right, thanks.
So you're gonna contact Kate? You're gonna contact?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so like, how much? I mean, you can't just say do one little thing and get a year off. I mean,
No.
that's.
Right.
Right.
No, this would be a restorative process.
Well, maybe Rob, once you contact the restorative justice, maybe they will have some suggestions about.
Oh, I'm
and
sure,
then
better than
we can-
mine.
How about we bring it back to you one more
Yes.
time before we make an
No,
offer?
I think she can
Exactly.
write up something, you know, a list of people willing to do this. They would have to go and listen to them and talk to them, but,
But whatever is brought up, I would like to see it before I approve
of
it.
course, no, I'm gonna ask Kate for her suggestions and ideas and
Okay.
bring it here. No.
We'll come back here first.
Of course you're gonna
Yes, the
see.
stuff's here first. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So now other business?
I don't think there's any actions on anything.
Okay.
So I'll just FYI.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. You ready?
Go for it.
We're ready.
I'll make the motion we close.
Second it.
Jeez. All those in
I
favor?
wanted to drag it out at least another
Meeting
30 seconds.
adjourned.